Next on America's Day at the Races is the Friday card from Aqueduct and Arkansas Derby Eve from Oaklawn. After briefly trying the Triple Crown Trail, Bold Journey drops in class and could be a handful for his opponents with his speed. Over in Hot Springs, Arkansas, it's the calm before the storm with Oaks and Derby qualifiers to come on Saturday. Coaching Club American Oaks champ Maracuja finally gets her 4-year-old campaign started. Will she be ready to fire off the bench in her seasonal debut? And is the filly up to beating the boys in Saturday's Arkansas Derby? We'll preview the chances of Secret Oath for Hall of Fame trainer D. Wayne Lucas. All that and more coming up on this Friday edition of America's Day at the Races. It's brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Sun is shining this afternoon in South Ozone Park. Good to have you with us. We're going to get set for the late pick 4. Coming up in race number 5, Greg Wolf alongside New York Racing Association analyst Andy Serling. And our feature race, we're going to have a good one in the finale on our card today. Key Point, been waiting a long time to see this debut winner come back for Chad Brown.
And he didn't find an easy spot for his return because you've got the accomplished Bold Journey, who I think will appreciate cutting back to 6.5 furlongs. But Key Point, a 2-year-old New York bred, got an 82 buyer back in August. We haven't seen this horse in almost 8 months, but the way the Chad Brown runners are running and the way he seems to do off layoffs, no reason not to expect him to run well. Not an easy spot, but he's one to watch.
Chad Brown just winning with a first-time starter before we came on the air, and Manny Franco out of the gate. I don't know how he stayed on that horse. We'll try and show it to you later.
Well, I don't know how he got back on because he actually seemed to almost fall off coming out of the gate. Really incredible.
Here's today's races presented by Claiborne Farm. Races 5 through 8. Late pick 4 coming up. We're muddy. Harrowed Racetrack over in Hot Springs. It is fast. In race 5 starts the late pick 5. We'll bring you races 3 through 9. You can, of course, play it all by getting signed up and started with Naira Bets. Download the app. Go to nairabets.com. The offer to take advantage of, there it is, $200 deposit match. Sign-up bonus for new members. Just punch in that code right there, and you're good to go. Stakes 200. And bet any track, anywhere, anytime. So third from Oaklawn, $40,000 maiden claiming sprint. Take a look at the current odds, and Zamuda back again. David Cabrera, big day yesterday, 4-win Thursday afternoon. This horse just third at this level last start.
I mean, normally when you look at the race like this and you see sort of unraced horses or lightly raced horses and you see the favor is a horse that's had 7 chances, you go, okay, good, I'm going to be looking to bet against him. I just don't really know where to go, and I'd probably go to the horse on the outside, one of 2 first-time stars for McLean Robertson, excuse me, who's taken a little money at 3-1. And this one, there's a little bit of pedigree.
Daughter Cross Traffic out of a Stormcat mare. She'll get Lasix for her first start. The other one who is interesting, but it was 2 starts at Remington, and it was 16 months ago since we've seen her, the 5. Call Crystal, she drops in class.
I'm not taking horses, and I know you somewhat agree, off of 16-month layoffs. You know what, you're mentioning Kipasa Mufasa, the horse on the outside, and good luck to Vic Stauffer if that horse gets in a stretch duel. It's a full Todd Pletcher pedigree. Cross Traffic, the dam, of the sire, and the dam, both trained by Todd Pletcher. That could be interesting. You never know. Is that horse getting bet because there's nowhere else to go, or is he getting bet because he can run?
One contender did come out of the 6, would have taken at least a little bit of money in here. You have another class dropper in the 3, but has not shown a lot of ability. Ferracino in those first 2 starts.
I mean, I guess the first start wasn't that bad. The problem is he's cutting back in distance, and he doesn't have any speed going long. I mean, you feel like he could be a city block behind. And this is a trainer, for what it's worth, over the last 5 years is just 1 for 21, cutting back from a route to a sprint.
See how it plays out. Third from Oaklawn, our first live action of this Friday afternoon. Thanks for being with us. Vic Stauffer with the call.
They're at the post. They're off. Zamuda breaks on top from Midi and Kepasa Mufasa. Then comes Call Crystal, followed by Really Nice, and the trailer is Far As I Know. Now the Robertson trainees are 1-2 up the backstretch. Kepasa Mufasa in front. of stablemate Mitty and their matching strides. Now 2 lengths in front of Call Crystal. Zamuta's 4th at the rail and 3 off the lead. Far As I Know is 5th with 6 lengths to make up, and she's 6 lengths in front of Really Nice as they leave the backstretch. Mitty and Que Pasa Mufasa right together, and Mitty puts ahead in front. Que Pasa Mufasa alongside in second, 2.5 lengths to Call Crystal and Zamuda. Far As I Know is still 5th and still about 6 off the lead, and then far behind is Really Nice. They run off the top of the turn. Mitty and Que Pasa Mufasa. Call Crystal 3 wide. Zamuda's got run. Gonna need a way through. Nowhere to go for Zamuda. Meanwhile, Far As I Know is moving up. Any one of the 5 can win, and Mitty has the lead. Now the rail is open for Zamuda if she's good enough. Call Crystal to the outside, and Far As I Know, Mitty in front. Zamuda is coming on the inside, down to these 2. Mitty and Zamuda. Mitty still a neck in front. Zamuda has a final 50 yards to try to get her, and just might do it. Here comes Zamuda. Zamuda beat Mitty. Call Crystal was 3rd. Far As I Know finished 4th.
Zamuda should share this winner's check with the stablemate of Mitty.
I know. It was very nice of the stablemate of Mitty, the other first-time star for the same barn, to have dueled Mitty into submission and set it up for Zamuda. And I always think of Andy Kaufman, this Bob Zamuda, who was sort of his partner. I kind of wonder if that's where the name came from. Sometimes you get the right trip in the right field. If you bet Mitty, you feel like you got a little unlucky.
I mean, that was saying something just to hang around there.
Yeah, I thought the horse ran very well. Midshipman is a very under-the-radar sire.
Zamuda, 8th time out, able to break her maiden. Rick Hiles, David Cabrera leading rider again with another win on the card. We briefly touched on the feature race that is going to kind of close out the card. We'll call it the feature. I think it's one of the most intriguing races, if not the most, on the card today in New York. And Bold Journey, who was in the Grade 3 Gotham. They put him on the Triple Crown Trail. That last start, he got basically eliminated out of the gate. He's a speed horse. Do you just put a line through that race?
Well, you know, that's a good question. Yes and no. He wasn't going to win that race on anything. He was eliminated at the start. He did seem to kind of fall apart a little in the stretch, but maybe it was circumstance. Here's his effort when he finished 2nd to Barisi, trying to get a mile. Probably a horse who's a little better going shorter. Barisi's going to try the Wood Memorial, where he'll probably be the 4th choice, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. He's okay, this horse. It's an important race for him today. Some will see him getting Lasix for the first time. I don't take that as a meaningful change, not as a negative, but he's never been in a race he's been allowed to run on Lasix before. His maiden races were as a 2-year-old. 2-year-olds can't run on Lasix. His next 2 races were stake races. He can't use Lasix. So this is the first time he's ever been in a race where he's been allowed to use Lasix.
Looked home free in that run. But again, you said Barise's number came back very big, and we're going to see him in the wood, so maybe not as bad as it looked.
Right. I mean, watching it, you felt like he just stopped on a dime. On the other hand, even if you still feel that way, you have to think 6.5 furlongs is more suitable for him.
Well, we look forward to that. That's coming up to close out the card, the 8th today from New York. Meanwhile, atmosphere in Hot Springs, it has got to be sensational as we get set for the Arkansas Derby. Let's send it out to Lafitte Pinkai and Gary Stevens.
Would be that much more sensational, Greg, if Giovanni Franco was able to hold on in that last race here at Oaklawn, Gary. He just missed.
I'm going to echo Andy a little bit. Mac Robertson got 2 first-time starters. I don't know if these 2 jocks, Cabrera and Giovanni, got the memo or not that they were riding for the same trainer, but not too bad for 2 first-time starters. Zamuda coming away with the win.
We'll have those results coming up shortly. You know, the last time we were here, it was cold, it was wet, it was dark, no such concerns on this afternoon. And at the end of that racing day, we had 2 questions. A, how in the world was Unoho able to win the Rebel Stakes at 75-1? And B, would Wayne Lucas run the filly Secret Oath in the Arkansas Derby on the strength of her Honeybee win? Gary, we have our answer. She's running tomorrow, the morning line favorite in the Arkansas Derby, and you can feel the excitement.
Yeah, especially this morning out on the backstretch. Everybody had an opinion. Listen, you can make a case for any one of these 9 horses and the 1 filly in this race, and I wouldn't shoot you down for it. I can make a solid case for her. Secret Oath doing quite well right now.
She has been brilliant this year. The 3 wins by a combined 23 lengths. Gary, what have you noticed from Secret Oath since her Honeybee blowout?
She stepped it up a notch. She's looked different in the mornings as far as appearance goes. She's trimmed down, thinned down. She looks like a fighter getting ready to go to a fight. Looks like a giant cat out there. She's sharp right now. Had an easy morning of it this morning, 1.25 mile gallop in hand. just something to keep her fresh right now.
Hey, we don't want to give you too much, but you don't want to miss the sit-down. Gary Stevens, Dwayne Lucas on tomorrow's broadcast, Gary, but I will ask you, how confident do you sense the coach is on this eve of the Arkansas Derby?
Well, I asked him one key question. What separates these fillies that you've trained in the past, going back to Althea, who won the Arkansas Derby, the winning colors, the Serena song, all of them. What separates them? He said, you just keep pushing them, pushing them, pushing them when you see that brilliance. And when that brilliance continues to grow, that's when you know you've got the right one, and that's when you take those chances. One of them's $1 million. 2 tomorrow, the Arkansas Derby. The Kentucky Oaks, or the Arkansas Oaks Fantasy is worth $600. He likes that money.
Yeah, that's what he said. The monetary aspect was a big influence. Gary Stevens, one of 3 human beings ever to win a Kentucky Derby with a filly, as you mentioned, winning colors back in '88. As we welcome in the 3rd member of our on-site broadcast team, Maggie Wolfendale. Maggie, Secret Oath has not won a Grade 1 race yet, but there is a Grade 1 winner running here today at Oaklawn Park.
And Lafitte, she's right behind me. That is the Grade 1 CCA Oaks winning Maracuja, the only filly last year to beat champion Malathat. Now, she's been off since her try in the Grade 1 Cotillion in late September at Parks. And Rob Atras decided that she had been in training for a long time and she just needed a break. Well, he brought her here to Oaklawn to prepare her for a possible start in the Apple Blossom, which is still in the cards if things go favorably today. But with the weather, the track not being ideal a lot of times, he kind of got a late start. But since late February, Rob has been able to turn the screws on this filly. And what Gary was saying about Wayne Lucas, testing horses week after week, Rob said to me that each week that he comes back here after, spending his time in New York with his mainstream there, that this filly gets stronger, better. And guys, I'm having so much fun with her. Mama, she is mad at me now because I've been refusing to give her peppermints because she's running today. But this filly has one of the coolest personalities of any horse on this backside. And Greg, I cannot wait to see her run in the feature today, her comeback race as a 4-year-old.
Glad Maggie's made a new friend, a little camera shy, Maracuja. Hopefully she's not camera shy when she's hopefully ready to get her picture taken today. For her off the bench, what are your concerns with Maracuja?
Well, I think you always have to be concerned with horses coming off the bench, and obviously it's not the ultimate goal. They're talking about trying to make the Apple Blossom. If that doesn't work out, they could always run in the La Troyenne a couple weeks later on Derby weekend. So there's also more speed in there. There's some speed in the race, a little dangerous. So she's got a couple of foes inside of her. She's the best horse. She runs her best race, but we'll see.
Looking forward to that. That's race 8 on the card today in Hot Springs. Maracuja Coaching Club, American Oaks winner, making her 4-year-old return to the races as we get set for the 5th. Coming up, kicks off the late pick 4, allowance starter optional claiming race, 1-turn mile, and Waters of Meram drops down out of the Busanda for Chad Brown. Filly that he claimed for $30,000. She went on to win very next time out. There is Chad, having a sensational year again early on, and he's got a few very live chances still to come. We'll be back. Stay with us.
A Grade 1 winner of nearly $2 million, Silver State hails from the sire line of legendary Claiborne Stallion Danzig. And his second dam is full sister to Kentucky Derby winner Monarchos. After winning the Oaklawn Handicap, Silver State defeated Knicks Go in the Grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap. On the board in 12 of 14 starts from ages 2 to 4, his career included a 6-race winning streak. Grade 1 winner Silver State, standing at Claiborne Farm.
We're back on America's Day at the Races, brought to you in part by Nyra Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime. Download the app or go to NyraBets.com. Race 5 starts the late pick 4, and that man's riding high right now. Dylan Davis coming off the first riding title of his career, just 27 years old. We're going to have a sit-down interview with him a little bit later on in the program. Mig had a chance to talk to him, but firing on all cylinders.
Well, listen, it's a what have you done for me lately world. I mean, Kendrick won 3 races yesterday. I don't think Dylan did. So, you
Dylan
win.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. So he won the winter title. It's the Aqueduct Spring meet now, the Spring Championship meet.
It is. We turned the page yesterday, so this is day 2 of the spring meet. So Dylan's going to ride Sweet Surprise the 4. We were talking off air about this board here. Waters of Maram should not be 2 to 5 in this race.
No, Waters of Maram is no superstar whatsoever, and is a little bit of the Chad Brown factor here. But I think the 5 Tweaked, who is going to come down considerably from her current 9-to-1 odds. Her debut is as good, if not better, than any race this horse ran, and she could be the controlling speed. I prefer Tweaked. Waters of Maram may win, but she's no 2 to 5 shot.
Post-parade coming up. We're going to see Scenic View here in just a moment to kick things off. Kendrick Carmouche, speaking of him. Yeah, took the first 3 on the card yesterday. He'll ride for Mike Maker.
Yeah, listen, she has a maiden win that's maybe within hailing distance, but she just looks a little slow for these.
Did she do much running in the Busanda? She is coming out of a stakes race. Here she is, Waters of Maram.
I mean, to be fair, she was off the inside. It was the place to be. She didn't run that badly. She's just not good enough. But here, she's one of the horses to beat.
11-1 Intelligence Report won first out.
She's going to have to improve significantly. She won, but she won a slow race.
Barn changed to Sweet Surprise, and here's Dylan Davis.
Yeah, keep in mind for people, Bruce Brown, who trained Sweet Surprise, he was the longtime assistant to Tim Hills, which may be one of the reasons there's a connection.
8-1 next door on Tweaked. Showed speed in the debut and broke her maiden first time out.
I honestly think she's value as low as 3-1 in this race. I think she's the clear other horse and a chance to wire this field.
She was 8-5 morning line. Kingdom Queen, 1 for 11 for John McAllen.
She's a little on the slow side, having finished second to Waters of Maram, the favorite. She did beat the track last time. She was one of the only horses that closed relatively successfully in her last start on that day. I tried her last time. This feels a little tougher.
Jackie Davis aboard, who won the opener on today's card, I believe, at 11-1.
Yeah, Jackie, I believe, is the only rider in the top 12 at Aqueduct during the winter to have a positive ROI. She had a terrific winter here, and she always gives you your best chance.
4 minutes to post. In the pick 4, Jonathan Kinchin. How are you going to play it?
Look, it's tough. This horse is taking a lot of money to the 2 Waters of Maram, and you have to ask yourself, why is this horse taking that much money? And it's a little bit of the Chad Brown effect, but there's not really a huge speed figure edge. And usually when you see a horse go to odds on, usually on paper, the speed figure really leans that there is a huge edge there, and I don't see that. That's why I went towards the outside. I agree with Andy on the 5 Tweaked, and I'll elaborate that on a little bit. But I like the 6 Kingdom Queen. This is a horse that ran well last time after breaking slow, and from a speed figure standpoint, there's no reason why this horse should be that much bigger of a price than the favorite in here. Now, I'm not saying the favorite's not going to win, and I'm not saying Kingdom Queen's not going to run second or third. I'm just saying that from a speed figure standpoint, which is the basis of most of my handicapping ideas, it starts with speed figures. Kingdom Queen is right there in her last start, and didn't have a perfect trip either. It was closing was wide after breaking a little bit slow. And then the 5 Tweaked that Andy mentioned. This is a horse that ran extremely fast as a 2-year-old on debut. Didn't run that well the second time out, but got a break after that. And usually when a horse doesn't run well and gets a break, I tell myself there must have been an issue, possibly an injury that caused the horse to not run as well. Now comes back in here fresh, puts the blinkers on. I think those 2 horses towards the outside, the 5 and the 6, offer a ton of value into the teeth of this overbet runner to the inside, the 2 Waters of Maram.
JK, thanks. Yeah, I guess it's a couple of things. It's Chad Brown for one, and then it's a filly coming out of a stakes race when you have a bunch of horses who've been in claiming races.
Well, I think you've given the recipe for being overbet. A trainer who is one of the top trainers in the world, who's been winning at a high percentage and coming out of a stake race. People almost can't resist that, but the reality is she's just not that good. It doesn't mean she's not the horse to beat. She probably is. The thing about Tweaked is, one of the reasons I don't think she ran as well last time is she was chasing wide that day, and she's a horse that really needs to sort of be controlling on the front end, and I think in this race she'll be able to control. Now, to be fair, she has been entered since her last race, Tweaked. This is her maiden win. She was scratched. I believe she was entered for a tag, and the connections probably may not want her to lose her. But she has been entered about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it's not as long a layoff as suggests. I don't disagree with what Jonathan's saying, that maybe something went wrong. But she also, maybe a horse just didn't run as well in her second start, and she's better if she can be in a better controlling position.
She did get jostled, too, at the start. Pretty good in that second start.
That's fair. That's fair. And Frosted Wild Ride had the absolute run of that race, and she's come back and run some reasonable races. So it's not like she lost to a bad field.
Start number 3 coming up. She is 7-1 on the board. Sorry, it's Kingdom Queen, who we're looking at. 7-1 on the board with Jackie Davis, looking for her second this afternoon. Let's bring in Richard Migliori for the first time today. Mig.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Beautiful day out here, sunshine. Got a little bit of a breeze coming off of Jamaica Bay, but Kingdom Queen looked good on the racetrack. A little bit nondescript in the paddock, but really liked what I saw on the racetrack. Big swinging gait to her, a lot of good energy. Gets very well posted. I like outside posts in these elongated one-turn races. So Kingdom Queen made a nice impression. The 2 Waters of Maram, she looked fantastic, and she's coming from a world-class horse trainer like Chad Brown. You don't expect him to look anything but as physically put together as she looks. Could not look any better. Picture of health. Gets Manny Franco, who won the last race under patient capital for Chad Brown, with a remarkable performance, just getting back on his horse, basically unseated at the start, got back in the middle. But I like Tweaked. She actually settled down with the blinkers on. Adds blinkers on the stretch out, but she was real keen in the paddock. Once the blinkers went on, she kind of settled a little more, and I think she gallops into the race the right way, guys.
All right, Mig, we will find out. 3 to 5, she has been odds on pretty much throughout the wagering here.
I think a lot of it has to do with Chad Brown, and it's the curse of success, right? Your horse is getting overbet, and you see it over the years. You've seen it with a lot of trainers, whether it's a Todd Pletcher, Shug McGahee. Their horses can be expected to run well, and at this point, the way Chad Brown's runners, he's been winning since the beginning of the Aqueduct Winter Meet in New York at almost a 50% clip, right?
It's incredible.
His ROI is over $4. They're not a bunch of 3 to 5 shots. And the other thing is, they haven't been a bunch of claimers. I'm going to argue this is one of the cheaper races that he's been in. They've mostly been, maiden winners like we saw in that 4th race, maiden special weights, some stakes, but also allowances. His barn is very strong. I think that Chad Brown has had a very good start to the year, but I would say it's fair to say he's coming into 2022 stronger than he did in 2021.
And he was still a finalist last year for an Eclipse Award again.
He's in position to make that run to get back the Eclipse title that he won all those times.
4 years in a row he took it. Well, he's got a 3 to 5 shot here. Mig loved the way that she looked. We keep saying, and we're not knocking her, she is the horse to beat, we agree, but that price is too low. Still, if she can run that race we just showed you, even the race prior to that, she probably still wins.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with her. The other thing is, even though the 5 is the speed, it's not like Waters of Maram is slow. She's not going to be outfooted in here. She's not at a massive pace disadvantage, the same kind of disadvantage that Kingdom Queen is. And while I wouldn't knock betting Kingdom Queen, it is windy out there. I was out in the paddock. It was really nice. Maybe it's just not as bad in the paddock. Thing about Kingdom Queen is, I think this is a tougher field than one she met last time, and she was 21-1 last time. I bet her last time at 21-1, so I'm not going to come back with her, but I think she ran well that day because if you look at March 19th, that was a day where almost every single horse that was at all effective was forwardly placed, whether on the lead or near it. She made the best run, most effective run of any horse all day from the back of the pack.
Pick 4 begins in this 5th race here coming up. The next race, we're going to see Chad Brown. He'll have another likely, well, I don't know. Dr. Art, do you think he'll be favorite?
He might be because of Chad Brown. I don't think he should be. I'm not sure he shouldn't be 3rd choice in there, to be honest.
Oh,
That'll be interesting to see how they bet that horse, actually, Let's see. The 5 appears to be favored. He appears to be favored, looking at doubles. Shock of shocks.
All right, that's to come. And then a very good nightcap, as we already touched on with Bold Journey. Send it upstairs. John Imbrial, the call. Race 5, start of the pick 4.
Waiting for a Tweaked and Kingdom Queen. They're in the gate for race 5. And they're off. From the outside, it is a Tweaked. Sweet Surprise is there. Now coming on through his intelligence report. Waters of Miram is in between horses. Down at the rail is Scenic View. 5 of them heads apart for the early lead, with Kingdom Queen racing in 6th as they leave the chute, enter the main track. Here comes Waters of Miram, the favorite, going up to challenge intelligence report for the lead. And the 2 of them are heads apart. Sweet Surprise is next and 3rd. Scenic View is down at the rail. Tweaked is in the clear on the outside. And Kingdom Queen. First quarter over the muddy strip in 23 1/5 seconds. And it is Waters of Miram in front now by a full length. Intelligence report, Sweet Surprise and Scenic View, they're all together as Tweaked now gains a spot on the outside. Kingdom Queen remains at the back. Going into the far turn, the half in 47 seconds. It is Waters of Miram. Sweet Surprise right alongside, and Tweaked is there on the outside. Kingdom Queen has now advanced up into 4th. Scenic View is now back running in 5th as they come for the top of the stretch. Here is Sweet Surprise to grab the lead. Tweaked on the outside. Waters of Miram towards the rail. 3/4 went in 1:13. It is Sweet Surprise trying to hold off. Tweaked on the outside and Waters of Miram on the inside. It is Sweet Surprise in front. Tweaked driving up on the outside. Waters of Miram at the rail. A 16th to the finish. It is Sweet Surprise in front. And Sweet Surprise is going to get the job done here at 6-1. Waters of Miram was second. And Tweaked finished 3rd.
Sweet Surprise drifting out a little bit in the stretch, but still able to hang on for the win at 6-1.
Sort of amazing. Waters of Miram looked like she could be best 3rd, and she almost came back and won the race. But Sweet Surprise was engaged in that pace, which seemed pretty honest, to be honest with you, to be honest. She gets it done. Congrats to Bruce Brown off the trainer change, getting it done. And Dylan Davis. See, we got him fired up. Got the win. And
he heard you.
Waters of Miram was a little over bet. Tweaked. She may not want to go a mile. She may not want to rate. She may not be very good.
But yeah, maybe cutting back to 6 could be more effective.
I wonder why they weren't more aggressive. To be fair, the pace was honest, but it almost seemed like Trevor didn't have much interest in the lead, which makes me think he was riding to instructions there. And I'm not sure why you would want to you'd put blinkers on and take away the horse's advantage on the field. As it was, the pace was fast enough that maybe she just couldn't make the lead.
Sweet Surprise. She's won 2 of her last 3. Those have been her only dirt starts. She actually started out on the grass. Dirt's definitely her future. 4-2, 5-6. Big upset in the exotics here in your multi-race wagers with a 6-1 shot. And the winner of the Aqueduct Winter Meet, Dylan Davis, notching a win. We'll be back.
Introducing a stallion, as top class as they come. In 22 career starts, he won or placed in 12 graded stakes, competing in 15 grade ones, earning over $1.7 million. His undisputed speed is evidenced by 7 100-plus buyer speed figures, a 3-time grade 1 winner, Raging Bull.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions. And offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets.
How does horse racing support New York's economy? It's responsible for 19,000 jobs and more than $3 billion in annual statewide economic impact. These good-paying jobs support working families across the state and sustain thousands of small businesses both on and off the track. Horse racing in New York means jobs and opportunities now and in the future. We are New York horse racing.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
We're back on America's Day at the Races program, brought to you in part by legendary Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual unusually well. Sweet surprise, a sweet upset here, beating an odds-on favorite at 6-1.
Yeah, and nice job by Bruce Brown getting this horse. I really think you would have to say she improved off her recent races. A very game effort. They were moving a bit up front, and she ran better than the favorite in there. Both of them engaged the pace. Tweaked at every chance to get by her. Looked like a winner top of the stretch. She may not want to get the distance. She may not want to rate. She just may not be good enough.
Claimed Waters of Meram or Meram, however you want to say it. So will no longer be with Chad Brown. Linda Rice in for the claim.
Well, I wish Linda the best of luck.
4-2-5 in that fifth. We'll set up the late pick 3 in a moment. We're going to head back to Oaklawn. As you see that 1480 there on Sweet Surprise. So up next, race 4 in Hot Springs. 6 furlongs, $8,000 condition claiming race. And here's the remaining half of the entry. Invaluable Robertino Diodoro.
I think this is the better of the entry, but neither one was reliable, right? Claim for $30,000 from Chris Hartman, who's tearing it up down there, and now running for 8.
Had been beaten a neck by Mrs. Danvers way back when.
She was running here a couple winters ago. She was terrific.
KBG drops down in class for Ron Moquette.
Yeah, we'll see. It is a very big drop down. I don't think you should totally ignore that, and unlike the one, not a short price. Or
3 Daring cuts back in distance, and here's Little Miss Hot Mess.
It's just, she's just one of the crew. It's kind of like if you don't trust the one, a lot of them can win.
16-1, Fable's Love Affair, Francisco Arrieta.
I'm not sure she's one of them, though, of her recent form.
Flat Out and Foxy, a 7-time winner.
She is second off a layoff. They're using that waiver rule, so they can't get claimed in this race. But still, this may be too tough a field for her.
And that's your group. So 3-5, and by the way, Invaluable, the 1, is going to have the outside post in this race.
You know, I think horses like Credit Enhancement getting scratched. Obviously, the 1A, you've eliminated some major, even lovely Lady Lexi, a horse who used to race around here. I think Credit Enhancement certainly sounds like a Klarovich name, doesn't it, if it wasn't a Klarovich horse? And I think it may well have been. But with a horse like Invaluable, you know, Greg, don't you sort of feel like if you don't trust her, bet against her? But she'll probably win.
Seems like this is one of those, let's get another W and pad our stats. Let's get Jonathan's thoughts.
Oh, these kind of races give me a headache because I completely agree. You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think with the 1 Invaluable, if you look, this horse was claimed for $30,000 in January. Then the horse comes back. It comes back in February 27th, was entered for $30 but scratched. So did the horse scratch because they thought maybe they heard they were going to lose the horse? Was there an issue that caused them to scratch? And now the horse shows up for 8? Even with this group, M&M Racing, who like to get their picture taken and make aggressive drops like this is just a negative drop. And she might be good enough to win anyways, but at this price, I'm not willing to figure it out. I'm going to take a look at the 2 KBG. This is a horse that I'm not crazy about either, but at least the drop's not as aggressive. It's not so like they just claim for 30 and then there's all these signs pointing to not good. And I'm going to go with the 2 KBG. I just don't trust the 1 off of that drop from 30 all the way down to 8 with that scratch at 30 in between.
He's like gravity.
Yeah, Jonathan, thanks. It is a bit of a red flag, but we see these connections do this because they want numbers.
It comes down to how you feel about playing the race, right? If you have an idea on somebody else, take a swing. If you don't, maybe it's not a horse that you want to bet against. My problem is in trying to create an idea against her, given who's left in this field after scratches, I just don't have anybody. So I'm not betting against her. In that case, I'd probably look to single her in some pick 3 maybe going forward, or maybe just stay out of the race.
Kind of see why they claimed her, though, right? I mean, she had some back class.
She was running for Pat Reynolds in New York. I mean, as you say, she's running against Mrs. Danvers' Tenderfoot. The boys' Tenderfoot ran a big race. I mean, she was running figures that she could have taken a step forward and, you know, been on the fringe of running in some lower-level stake races. It's a tough game.
Instead, things went the other way, and now she's in for the bottom. 8,000 here at Oaklawn. Outside post, the 1 Invaluable. Odds-on favorite for Robertino Diodoro with David Cohen. Let's go to Vic Stauffer.
The last 2 to load are Lil Miss Hot Mess and Invaluable. They're at the post. They're off. Slow start, KBG. Fast start, Invaluable and Lil Miss Hot Mess. Then comes Fable's Love Affair and Flat Out and Foxy. KBG moves up and takes 4th now after that bad start. Daring was away awkwardly as well. Invaluable, the leader. It's Invaluable, 3/4 of a length to Lil Miss Hot Mess. KBG between horses, Fable's Love Affair and a 4 wide, Flat Out and Foxy. Now Invaluable gets challenged on the front end. 3.5 back to Daring as they leave the backstretch, 4 across the racetrack. Invaluable and KBG. Now these two kick on and set off in a little match race between the two of them. Invaluable and KBG have now opened up 3.5 lengths on Lil Miss Hot Mess and Fable's Love Affair. 3.5 back to Daring and Flat Out and Foxy, Invaluable and KBG. Stride for stride at the top of the stretch. Invaluable now a neck in front. KBG trying to stay with her. It's 2.5 back to Lil Miss Hot Mess, and now Invaluable's back in front clear. Invaluable past mid-stretch with a 3-length advantage. That's all for KBG. Lil Miss Hot Mess takes second, and Fable's Love Affair is third, but it's Invaluable a 16th out, and now she's 4 in front. Lil Miss Hot Mess is second. Invaluable in front. Invaluable won by 3 3/4. Lil Miss Hot Mess was second. Fable's Love Affair third. Close for 4th between Flat Out and Foxy and Daring.
Well, off this performance, it looks like Connection's going to run her against a little better.
Well, I'm sure somebody else will be trying to run her against better. The question, Greg, is what's the over-under? A number of people that went in for a claim here. I'm going to take over 19.5. How about that?
I'd take the over.
Yeah.
Wins impressively. Invaluable. That's the 5th win of her career. Diodoro, Cohen at 1-2. And no contest in this spot. We'll try and get that information from you. See how many we're going after in the claim box. But yeah, I do not expect her coming back to Robertino Diodoro after this win. We're going to take a timeout. When we return, Todd Pletcher, Hall of Famer, got a strong duo for the Saturday feature here in New York. We'll preview the Excelsior at 1 1/8 when we come back.
Idol perfectly timed. Idol gets up under Joel Rosario to win the big gap. It's known agenda for St. Elias Stable.
Race and the race, scintillating performance in the TBG Delmar debutante.
And Clariere will win the cotillion. Down to the wire. Who's going to win it? It's Mala by a neck.
Curling, the classic sire.
We're back on America's Day at the Races on FS2. Good to have you with us. Greg Wolf, Andy Serling, and too many people to name all across the country, but you know who they are. Excelsior Stakes coming up on Saturday, our feature here in New York, and Todd Pletcher, a very strong hand with Untreated and First Constitution. First Constitution, even money, but there's the presence of that horse on the rail that might make life difficult. Splice the main race.
I agree, though. I don't think First Constitution necessarily has to have the lead to win. This case he had to because it was a huge inside speed track. So he was aggressively ridden and took advantage of it. But on the other hand, that sort of enhances performance. And that 100 buyer might not be as good, or the performance may not be good as that 100 buyer suggests. I think he may have his hands full with the other Todd Pletcher horse in here, Untreated. But I'm not going to knock this horse. He's pretty good.
Jazz will win. He's 4 for 9 overall in his career. First 3 wins, though, came in Chile. That was his first win in the States for Pletcher. Untreated. Trevor McCarthy will ride, and he's got to prove himself at 1.8 miles.
He does. I agree. And, I mean, there are some positive things to say about his losing effort at Fairgrounds last time. First of all, it was a better field. He lost to Miles D and Olympio and even Silver Prospector, who's a player in the Oaklawn Mile tomorrow. He was also very wide and trying to close into a slow pace. And as you suggested, he may get a little bit more of an honest pace here. And in a 5-horse field, he's probably going to get a good position, especially with a rider like Trevor McCarthy.
We will have it for you live coming up tomorrow. That is our feature here in New York. Part of a cross-country pick 5, which is always worth going after. It just takes one upset, and this can be sensational. Excelsier's Leg 2, it begins with a carousel. Out at Oaklawn, the Arkansas Derby will close it out. The wager begins at 3:19 Eastern time. And of course, in that carousel, Frank's Rocket looking for revenge after being beat last year as an even money favorite.
And the good news for you, if you play that first leg in the carousel, you've still got over 5 hours of racing on America's Day at the Races.
And us.
That's the good news for you. It may or may not be the great news for Greg Wolf and I, but it's great news for you. I'm looking forward to those races at Oaklawn. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fantastic. We can't wait. It's going to be a tremendous Saturday. We hope you join us. This race coming up is fascinating. This horse right here, part of the reason why. Dr. Ardito, 2 for 3 lifetime. He came off a 10-month layoff, 1 for Chad Brown. He, on Thoroughgraphs, got a huge figure for the race.
You know, and it's funny. The horse who was second 42 Ace came back and performed poorly in a subsequent start. But actually, the third place finisher, Son of an X, ran very well last weekend. You weren't here, but he ran extremely well at a huge price in one of those starter stakes. So I don't know. Maybe the race was okay, but he's meeting a significantly better bunch of horses. Daddy Knows, who's a really hard-knocking horse with the scratch of Invest, becomes the controlling speed. And Seven Lilies, who is a little bit pace-dependent, but has run some fast races. This is the curse of Chad Brown. This horse is overbet. Not saying he's not one of the major players in here, but I think the odds on all 3 of these horses should be relatively similar, much like the morning line.
Yeah, he's coming off back-to-back wins, his only 2 wins. He's facing 9, 8, 7, and 5-time winners in this field. Right. Let's head downstairs to Mig.
Yeah, a short select field of 5 here, and the 2 Seven Lilies is just a picture of health. Could not look any better. He's kind of a grinding type horse, one of those horses I call a bicycle horse. If you're not pedaling, he's not running. He's a horse that kind of gets, it takes a little while to get into gear. Obviously, Dylan Davis knows him well, ridden him several times now. He has never won at the mile distance, but I don't foresee the mile distance being any problem because of that grinding style. He just needs to work out the right kind of trip, and unfortunately, as we've seen in a lot of short fields, you will get more trouble with a short field because everybody's aware of where everybody else is, and he is drawn down towards the inside. And you get the like of Daddy Knows, who I do believe is the controlling speed. Even if somebody, let's say like the one Thorny Tail, was to decide to take a shot and leave from the rail, he's going to be galloping into the race the proper way from towards the outside. And I just think that he might have a big advantage from a pace standpoint because he's a horse that has been attending some very fast paces, and he might get very, very comfortable. But those are the 2 that really stood out to me here in the paddock, guys. And going to be interesting to get a look at him on the racetrack.
All right, Mig, thanks. We're going to get to the post parade in a moment as you look at Seven Lilies and you look at that record of the distance. He really should be a winner at a mile. That race 3 back, he ran a huge effort at a mile.
And here it is, just like the magic of television. You ask for it, you get it. He really did run a winning race here, and he had to try to come through on the inside. He just wasn't really comfortable in there, as so many horses aren't. So he had to sort of regather himself and come around. At that point, he just lost his momentum. And he lost to a pretty good horse in Yankee Division. And I know in his subsequent start, 2 races back, it's a disappointing effort. He was 6-5. He finished 4th, beaten just under 2 lengths. But if you were to look at that race, he was the only horse that made up any ground at all, and he made up a lot of ground. And Water's Edge has subsequently won 2 races, including a stake here. And then last time out, he got run off his feet by Whistling Birds, who came back last week with a giant performance in the subsequent race. Yeah. So his form is better. Look, now, here's the question, Greg. How worried are you that he's pace dependent in here? Or compromise,
that's a concern.
Pace compromise, right?
That's a big concern, no question.
And at least with Dr. Ardito, and I think we're all in agreement, and Richie was talking about it as well, that Daddy knows controlling speed. But Dr. Ardito's a little bit faster. He can put himself more in the game. I think with 7 Lilies, Dylan's got to be conscious of it, but I don't think you want to take him out of his game. I just think you want to hope he can make that run.
5-2 right now on 7 Lilies. Here's the one we all seem to believe is going to be the speed, leading the way with Trevor McCarthy. This is Daddy Knows. He produced a 91 Beyer speed figure, 2 back in a win, going 7 furlongs.
He's a crazy overlay at this point in this race at 4-1. He's a very similar price to Thorny Tail. Now, maybe Thorny Tail with an aggressive rider and Ruben Silvera will show some speed, but Thorny Tail is probably not good enough to be competitive here, and they shouldn't be similar prices. I don't know why Daddy Knows is that high, but maybe it's all because Dr. Ardito is so low.
You got to think that's the speedster again, Daddy Knows, but even money now on Dr. Ardito. The fact that he came back off a 10-month layoff, and he did win that race. He got a big figure for it, relative speaking. But you think he's probably coming out of this barn, he's going to move forward. If he could take a move forward off that, it's going to be that much better and more dangerous.
There's no argument with that, and it makes sense, and that's one of the reasons trainers like Chad Brown are as good as they are. On the other hand, how short a price do you want to take? At least a little bit on the come, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's meeting a couple of hard-knocking pros, and he doesn't have the race at his mercy. He's not the controlling speed. The 4 is theoretic controlling speed. Once again, neither one of us is saying he's not going to win the race, and maybe is the most likely winner, not sure. It just seems like even money is an awfully short price to take, and that's sort of the curse of success. If you like a Chad Brown horse, you're going to get a shorter price than maybe you should, though I used to say that all the time, and they kept beating me, so maybe they should be short prices.
It happens quite a bit, and it's happening even more this year.
With good reason. I mean, the way his horses are running, he's really running the right horses in the right spots.
What did he wind up percentage-wise at the Aqueduct Winter Meet? I mean, it was
like
high
47%,
40s, right?
Yeah, something like that, 46, 47%.
That's insane.
And it's just been a tremendous run, and he's been winning out of town. He's winning almost 40% for the year. Obviously, he's not going to be able to keep that up, and the racing's going to get more competitive at Belmont. He'll be at Keeneland, but I think he's more loaded this year than he's been in at least last year, if not the last 2 years, frankly.
Chad Brown, we're talking about, of course, who trains this one here, Dr. Ardito. Even money favorite, won off a 10-month layoff with Manny Franco. And Franco back aboard this afternoon. And there's Manny. We talked near the top of the show, nearly fell off a horse out of the gate for Chad Brown, who would go on to win in his debut. We'll try and bring you that later.
Yeah.
But we've said this a lot about Manny, that he's probably the most athletic rider there is on the circuit.
Manny is very eager, I think, to have the Chaplaincy's charity basketball game back in Saratoga this coming summer. I think everybody's missed it. I think Manny's really looking to get back on the court. And I'm looking forward to it, Greg. I can go this year. I haven't been able to go. It's always been the night of my radio show, so I'll be going. You'll be coming with me.
Are you going to play?
No, Greg. I'm not playing.
Okay.
But thank you for
because
bringing
I would pay to see that.
So would a lot of people.
Thorny Tail coming off a huge win at Parks last start.
This is a trainer that wins at 30% at Parks. That's 1 for 25 at Naira over the last 5 years.
7 Lilies. We showed you that start 3 back against Yankee Division.
He is my top choice in this race, but he could be pace compromised.
Dylan Davis looking to add another on the 2. Here's Just Right with Heeman Harkey.
These claims by Gustavo Rodriguez have been running, but he would have to run better than any of his recent races.
Likely the controlling speed. Here's Daddy Knows.
And he is a cool horse. He just keeps on going. He's one of the gamest horses on the grounds.
15 times in 24 starts he's hit the board. Dr. Ardito, even money for Chad Brown.
They just can't bet enough on those Chad Brown horses. He is a player in this race, but he is overbet at even money. This is not an easy race.
JK, do you see it the same way?
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you might as well start getting your mind right for it with Saratoga. Well, not that far. I mean, it's coming, right? We're excited about it. But it's something you have to figure out. What are you going to do with these horses that are overbet with Chad Brown? Because often they still run well. And you get yourself in the situation where if you try to get too cute and try to beat them too often, you can kind of get in trouble. I'm not going to try to beat the horse totally here. I'm going to play a pick 3. And for the sake of the graphic, I'm just going to kind of talk through it a little bit here. I'm going to use 2 horses in each of the legs. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend playing it like this all the time, but I can't show you 7 tickets. So the way that I would normally play a sequence like this is for every leg, the first, second, and third, I would pick one horse to kind of press up. For instance, in this first leg, I would probably press up the 4 Daddy Knows. So I would basically play a ticket 4 with 3-5 with 5-10, and I would play that for $5. Then I would come back and play another ticket, 5 with 3-5 with 5-10 for $1 or $2, less than that. And then I would do that for every leg. My key in this leg would be the 4. My key in the next leg would be the 3 Tamburo Sox. My key in the last would be the 5 key point. So although I'm giving you this ticket 2 by 2 by 2, and there's an easy way to just pop that in and play, I would encourage you to kind of sit down with that idea of making multiple tickets to press up the horse that you like the most, because most people that look at this race will not feel equal about the 4 Daddy Knows and the 5 Dr. Ardito. So why would you bet them equally? Press the one you like the most. For me, it's the 4 Daddy Knows.
I agree with Jonathan about the pressing and that concept. And he's obviously making the point. He's giving out a ticket. So I would play a different ticket here. I don't agree with the philosophy of throwing out favorites in pick 5s, pick 6s, and those things. But in a pick 3, I don't mind doing it. And in this case, I think Dr. Ardito is massively overbet at 4-5. So I would use the 2 and 4 in this race and try to take advantage of how overbet Dr. Ardito is. I would use the 3 and 8 in race number 7, and I would use the same 2 that Jonathan used in the last race, the 5 and 10. In fact, I'm going to do that.
Well, and key point, the 5 in the last, another Chad Brown horse that's probably going to get even more overbet.
Right. Now, maybe you'll get a little more of a value in a pick 3, especially if you beat the Chad Brown runner in this race. I'm going to try to get my value by betting against, because I see this as a very different circumstance than a pick 5, because I don't have big prices in the other legs. In a pick 5, you might get a price home in one of the 2 legs. You don't want to blow it because you didn't use a 4-5 shot. And here, I think he's the horse to bet against.
So let me pose this question to you. If you had a choice, key point in the last, or Dr. Ardito here for Chad Brown, who do you prefer of those 2?
Well,
I mean, part of it is you don't like the now the price is just ridiculous.
At the prices, I much prefer key point. I think this is absolutely ludicrous that this horse is this short a price.
Just lowest he has been yet, 3-5 now on Dr. Ardito. Let's go back to Mig.
Yeah, my opinion really hasn't changed a great deal from what I saw in the paddock. I really like Daddy Knows the 4. I love his warm-up. He left the pony. He was aggressive, but not, over the top. He was contained, but really in the bridle. I think he gets to control things from the outside. I think he just has a pace advantage. And I think the horse to beat is definitely the 2 horse, 7 Lilies. And the Chad Brown horse, listen, all Chad Brown horses look good. It's very rare when you see one that you go, wow, that horse just does not look healthy. He's a tremendous horseman, tremendous caretaker. Horse is a horse that carries a bit of weight. He's going, I think, to have to improve to compete with just some really, really seasoned veterans. I think he's taken on a tougher group than he has so far in the 3 starts in his life. So I like the 4-1 on number 4, Daddy Knows. And just like I tell my children, Daddy knows.
Richie's kids are like 40. Who is he kidding?
He still says that to them?
Yeah, I mean, really, Richie, come on. Should we tell your grandchildren that? You've probably got, do you have grandchildren or great-grandchildren yet?
Now, come on, take it easy. My oldest is 31. My youngest is 21.
Whatever.
Now.
Carmela's got to be putting a little pressure on Joey to have some grandchildren.
Yeah.
She's already got one grandchild at home she's taken care of. She wants to have one that's a little younger.
All right. They're loading in the gate, guys.
3-5 favorite, Dr. Ardito. Way too low. But, again, though I still think the horse to beat, probably.
Yes, but you're saying probably in a competitive race, and he's 3-5. And the idea, we're here to try to make money, and I think the play here is to make money. And given that the prices aren't big in the other two races, I don't mind tossing him and trying to get live with the other two contenders.
There he is. Can he be as impressive or move forward off that win off the bench? We're about to find out. Let's go to John Imbrial.
Gate for race 6. And they're off. Daddy Knows breaks on top. Dr. Ardito on the outside. Then comes Just Right. Thorny Tail is down at the rail. 7 Lilies will be the early trailer as the field moves up the chute. And it is Daddy Knows with the lead here by 1.25 lengths. Thorny Tail down at the rail. Dr. Ardito's on the outside, and Just Right is in between. Then a break of 3 back to 7 Lilies. Now they're on the main track. And it is Daddy Knows the leader through 1/4 in 23 3/5 seconds. It's Daddy Knows setting the pace here, but now here's a challenge from Thorny Tail up the inside. Just Right, Dr. Ardito, they're heads apart 3rd and 4th with 7 Lilies continuing to trail. Daddy Knows continues to lead here. It's Daddy Knows by 1.5 lengths. Thorny Tail at the rail. Just Right in between horses. The favorite, Dr. Ardito, on the outside, and Dr. Ardito now begins to move. 7 Lilies is 5th, 4 lengths from the front, the half 47 2. Daddy Knows, here comes Dr. Ardito, here comes Just Right in between horses, now 3 of them across, 7 Lilies, and now 7 Lilies makes a move, going up into contention, so it's 4 of them right together, coming for the top of the stretch. It is Dr. Ardito who has come away with the lead, 7 Lilies on the outside, moving into 2nd, then it's Just Right. Daddy Knows back and forth. Dr. Ardito is in front with a furlong to the finish. 7 Lilies giving chase in 2nd. It's Dr. Ardito in front by 3. And Dr. Ardito is going to win another one-turn mile race here at Aqueduct. Dr. Ardito over 7 Lilies and Just Right.
3 in a row for Dr. Ardito wins at odds on here.
Yeah, this is a nice performance here. I mean, obviously the 4 in here, Daddy Knows didn't run his race. He sort of caved. But I think 7 Lilies ran his race, and he just flicked him off like a gnat top of the stretch. Looked for a second like 7 Lilies was loaded and going to go right by, and Dr. Ardito and Manny Franco just went, no thank you. And he won, frankly, like a 3-5 shot should. This is a pretty quick race on this racetrack, 138.12. I would say he built on his last race.
4-year-old improving son of Liam's map here. He goes off at 3-5 in the end. He's reeled off 3 in a row, and this is a good field he beat for this level. Manny Franco with another victory. Michael Dubb, Michael Caruso, and trained by Chad Brown. We're going to take a timeout. Barber Road, trainer John Ortiz. 3 Derby preps, 3 in-the-money finishes, but they'd love to get a W heading into the Kentucky Derby. We'll have a preview to come.
Run Happy was a #1 second crop sire by graded stakes winners and earnings. Run Happy is represented by Smile Happy, the Kentucky Derby individual future pool favorite. A leading dirt sire and now with an exciting Kentucky Derby hopeful. Call Bernie Sams now and book your mare to Eclipse champion Run Happy right now. Run Happy standing in stall 1 at Claiborne Farm.
Be a part of the racing action Saturdays at Aqueduct with live money contests available online through Naira Bets. A $300 buy-in adds $200 to your contest account, while the other $100 funds the cash prize pool paid through 10th place. Follow along with the races on America's Day at the Races while keeping track of your leaderboard standings on Naira Bets. After the contest, your bankroll and prize winnings are shifted back into your Naira Bets account to start betting or withdraw. Register to play today at nairabets.com/contests.
They're off in the hopeful. Here's Basin now running up alongside, and Basin grabs the lead. Basin and Jose Ortiz are running away in the hopeful.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back on America's Day at the Races program brought to you by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Race 5 is next in Hot Springs. 6 furlongs, start of the late pick 5, a state-bred $16,000 maiden claiming event coming up.
This is the race you've been waiting for, Greg. It's the race you said to me earlier. I can't wait for this. What are we doing here?
5-2 favorite, the horse on your screen, Warning Label. Let's check in with Maggie.
And we'll get to Warning Label in a moment, Greg. But let's take a look at the horse from the rail. Second-time starter dropping in class for trainer Ron Moquette. That is Coincidental. And she did show a bit of early foot in that debut. And David Cabrera today is like sitting on a keg of dynamite. This filly is, or excuse me, gelding, is so revved up. I mean, David was doing everything he possibly could to just try to calm him down, petting him, just, you know, taking it very easy with him. And he did chill out a little bit on the track, has cotton in his ears as well. I said filly because he's acting kind of like a filly, to be honest, but look for that early speed. Now, whether it plays favorably this time, because definitely couldn't sustain it in that debut, we'll see, but does look incredibly fit heading back to the races off a little bit of a break. But the horse that looked best is your current 9-5 favorite, guys. Warning Label. I know I'm not, you know, reinventing the wheel here by suggesting this horse, but he was the most composed of any of them out there. He looked best as far as conditioning and health, and, you know, Kelsey Hart riding for her partner Robert Klein. And last time out, I thought hustled for some early speed, then kind of had to get checked right before the quarter pole and stayed on resolutely. And this season, this horse has improved his game a bit. And just in this field, based upon appearances, I thought looked best. JK, did you come up with anything more creative in this Arkansas-bred maiden?
No, I thought it was kind of a tough race. Usually when I'm looking at these maiden claimers, I'm looking for some horses that took money at a higher level or are dropping from a higher level or showed speed at a higher level. And there's the closest thing I could come up with in that situation would be the one Coincidental down on the inside. Took a little bit of money first time out. It didn't run particularly well, but did take some money. Has come back and seemed to work okay. It did show a little bit of speed. Like you said, the 3 from a speed figure standpoint, Warning Label feels like the one that you want in here, but at a short price, I just felt inclined to try to look somewhere else. I'm going to go with the one Coincidental. Hopefully they send away from the inside. I like that sometimes when you're down on the inside. It kind of gives the rider one way to go. You don't necessarily want to take back. So I'll go with the one Coincidental. Last time I looked, 7-2 on the board. They can spend that money as well.
Yeah, look, a little bit of upside. Second time out for Ron Moquette. Good barn. Showed some brief ability early.
And you'd think he's the speed in this race, right? I mean, he's got to be going from the rail. So I agree. I thought he was a little interesting as well. The horse who ran second is actually not that bad, though, to be fair. The third-place finisher, not that good.
I'm surprised. Well, I shouldn't say that. The 7, potentially another one that could show some early pace. What about Jackie's Back next door? That a slow figure, obviously, last start, but did close from the clouds to get third.
Well, the thing about Jackie's Back is that there was a time in his second and third start, albeit on wet tracks, where he ran figures that would just destroy this field, his 51 and 60 buyers. So the question is his last race a sign that maybe he's getting back to that, or did he just run better because they dropped him down to the bottom?
He's the 6 at 5-1 right now. He was 5-2 morning line. And meanwhile, that 7 horse we briefly touched on, his second start, he was fairly close to the pace, moderately better group.
I think he makes a certain amount of sense in this race. I mean, the problem with Warning Label, and it's really the same things that Jonathan sort of said, he's had a lot of chances, this horse, for a horse who's favored in this race. And, you know, one of the many things that Jonathan and I agree on, and for two guys that sometimes the perception we're not agreeing, we actually agree on much more than we don't agree on in horse racing. We just often come up with different horses to bet on, is the less chances a horse has had in a race like this, the more inclined you are to want to take a look at them. They haven't failed as many times. You know, each of Warning Label's races are failures. I'm not saying that to knock him. These horses are who they are, but he's had 8 chances. Now, he's also never been under 6-1, so he's clearly in the softest spot he's ever been in.
Should anyone be 9-5 in this race?
That's the other thing. And I think the other thing you have to ask yourself is, let's say you have to bet the race. If you have to bet the race, would you bet a horse that's 9-5? Now, some people would. Listen, I have friends that lay 8-1 in sporting events. I could never do that. You could never do that. We see that differently, and you see that with sports betting. One of the things that we love about betting racing is that we can put together a ticket for $100 or $200, and you've done it and won $40,000. I've had pick sixes that have paid 6 figures. You can do those things, and on a routine basis, you can put a ticket in for $100 and make $1,000. 2,000.
That's why this game is the best. Bet a little to win a lot.
Right. And listen, everybody is fascinated by what they're fascinated by, but those of us that love racing find a fascination in the handicapping. In whatever method you use, however you get there. I mean, you and I have a different approach now we handicap, but I know that you love to handicap. You like looking at it. We talk about it a lot off the air. The fun of horse racing is trying to figure it out, putting your money up, and not just winning, but being right. There's nothing like being right in this game.
It's amazing, too, how different your handicapping becomes if you're just looking at the races and picking horses, or if you're actually putting money up and betting. It's so much different.
Oh, I mean,
it makes you think differently.
Some of the most successful bettors aren't even particularly good handicappers. Yeah. Some great handicappers are bad bettors and not successful players. The most important thing is knowing how to bet. It doesn't hurt, though, to be able to get there. It's a game that has so many different facets, and if it's something that interests you and it catches your eye, you will find it endlessly fascinating for your entire life, the way I have, at least.
This race is going to kick off, for many of us, our favorite wager, the late pick 5. And Warning Label, 0 for 8 lifetime. The favorite, the 3. Let's go to Vic Stauffer for the call.
The last horse to load is Backgate Red. They're at the post. They're off. Coincidental caught a flyer and goes right to the front from Young O'Dane and Vision of Elias. To the outside end, Just Dennis. Then comes Warning Label and Backgate Red with Jackie's Back and Other Times. And a slow start has Moonshine Surfer at the back of the pack. It's Coincidental up the backstretch, a 2-length lead on Vision of Elias and Young O'Dane. Those 3 are now 4 lengths clear of Warning Label, but Warning Label's traveling nicely at the rail 4th and about 5 from the front. 2 back to Just Dennis. Another 5 to Backgate Red. Jackie's Back has 12 to make up, who's 3 in front of Other Times, and the trailer is still Moonshine Surfer, and here comes Vision of Elias outside of Coincidental. Vision of Elias and Coincidental, they're 1-2. Warning Label has moved up into 3rd and has a shot, 2.5 from the front. Vision of Elias, the one to catch. Coincidental is backed out. Warning Label in the center is coming with his run, then Young O'Dane. Vision of Elias has the lead. It's a 2-length lead on Warning Label, who is inching ever closer in second. Vision of Elias, Warning Label now 1.5 lengths behind. Vision of Elias reaches. Warning Label trying to get by. Vision of Elias, Warning Label, Vision of Elias. Vision of Elias beat Warning Label. Backgate Red was 3rd, and Moonshine Surfer finished 4th.
Vision of Elias looked a little dicey late. 3 making a run at him, but able to hang on. Ricardo Santana Jr., Tim Martin.
Yeah, and once again, having that speed, the tactical position that the 7 Vision of Elias had paid off, and Warning Label will fight again in the maiden ranks. Kelsey Hare doing nothing wrong, getting good position, but Warning Label just didn't want to go by.
Owned by Circle Bar H, son of Ordained. 3rd time the charm, breaks his maiden career start, number 3. And a favorite beat to start the late pick 5, 7-3. And a ways back to the 9 there, Backgate Red.
And the lightly raced horse holds off the horse who's had many chances.
Yep. Upside potential. All right, we'll have those prices for you in a moment. Back to New York. And a horse on the improve here, Dr. Ardito. He's rolled off 3 wins in a row for Chad Brown.
Yeah, he's just getting better and better. And it's I think one of the harder things in racing to do is win back-to-back races, especially at these levels, because the competition each time is getting tougher and tougher. And also keep in mind, Dr. Ardito's last win was coming off the layoff of over 10 months, excuse me. So you get him back, you get him ready to run a big race, and then you bring him back in his next start, and he improves on that. Not an easy thing to do, but Chad Brown, and let's also give a little bit of a credit to his assistant, Dan Stump, as well, who's done a terrific job here this winter, as well as everybody on the team.
3-5 in the end. The money was right. $3.50 for the victory. 7 Lilies just right at 14-1. Second and third. Let's take a look at the Pick 5 follow along. With 2 races remaining in the sequence. You got Sweet Surprise in there at 6-1. I don't believe Dr. Ardito was as heavy as a single as the odds on would indicate.
I agree, and I'm wondering if Sweet Surprise might have even been a little better than 6-1 in there. So even though the parlay for $2 is around $70, I'm going to say that this is, for 50 cents, about a $25 parlay, which isn't bad.
Up next, we have a claiming race, $16,000 tag. Horses who've not won 2 lifetime. And a horse who took him 10 starts to finally break his maiden. Right now is a 9-5 favorite.
He's the speed, and not only that, with the scratch, the 2 and 4, his nearest pursuers are gone. Stamborough Sox' race to lose. I'm going to try to beat him with the outside horse, Brunate.
And that is one who is trained by that man right there, James Bond. Blinkers will go on. Brunate this afternoon, 1 for 17 coming in. We'll have the story of the Bond family doing it all together next.
Irish Hill and Duchess View Stallions, proudly standing the ultra-fast, multiple stakes winning son of Uncle Mo, King for a Day, the only horse to defeat 2019 3-year-old champion Maximum Security.
Well, King for a Day was basically a clone of Uncle Mo. I mean, good speed, the ability to carry it over distance of ground, real professional horse and a really cool horse to train.
Sire maker extraordinaire Uncle Mo, represented in New York by King for a Day. Visit ihdvstallions.com to book your mare today.
All right, next set, let's get him out of town. Let's go. I don't go front side unless I have a horse running or it's a grade 1. She's just gonna gallop off. It's not me. I just like being here at the barn. You don't learn a whole lot front side. You learn more back here watching the horse. 1 step forward.
Okay.
She's all stretched, right?
With the shadow roll.
He's jogging too, also, this horse here is. We stretch so many horses that sometimes when they've been in the barn for almost 2 years, they do it automatically as soon as we go for them. They just do it like it's amazing. You gotta reset your saddle. 1 step. A little too far. A quarter pole. Just easy. The track getting a little cut up, so just take care of her. I think training horses is keeping them happy. you know, sorry, but anybody can go 2 miles, a mile, quarter mile, jog, whatever. That's easy. But it's trying to get into their head. She's sassy. She's really sassy. All I am is a big teacher, and I'm just trying to turn the light on for that student to make them basically want to be better. They are breaking. She was moonlighting 2 nights a week at a nice steakhouse, and I asked her out for a year, and she wouldn't go out with me. She said I wasn't her material yet. So I just kept asking. Boy, did I get lucky.
My brother and I had always worked for my father when we were kids, just helping out around the farm, helping out at the barns in the morning, going in with him. There was never pressure from him to do this, but gave us the tools. We went to school and sought out if there was something else that took our interest, but we came back to the sport.
Last night. Yeah, I'm a grandpa. It's my youngest, Ryan's first one. So we're very happy, and we got another trainer in the family. I don't golf, I don't do anything. I just play with horses, and I love the farm is a tranquil for me. It's kind of settles me down, and I get to see the future. I always try to follow my horses. I just like watching how they track. All right, let's go with Escapology. That filly's coming off a work. Let's just jog her twice. COVID hit and changed our whole business model, and we have met some of the nicest people that have the same outlook that we do about the horse, and we can do the right thing by the horse all the time.
It is Giacosa.
And she's happy. That's fantastic. Fantastic. That's good enough for her.
And there is the horse the Bon Barn will send out coming up, who's currently 5-2 on the board. Brunate from the outside post, 1 for 17 coming in. He's going to use the apprentice here, Jose Gomez.
You know, I begrudgingly picked him, to be honest with you, because I didn't want to take Tim Burrow's socks at a short price to repeat. Tough to come back and do that, but he is the horse to beat. I won't deny it. And I thought there were really only 2 possible alternatives, and they were Actuary and Brunate. Actuary is one of those horses that kind of looks good when you first look at it. Mike Maselli off the claim. He's run some good figures, but the reality is Mike Maselli is a terrific trainer, but this horse has been in nothing but good barns. Brendan Walsh had this horse. Rob Atras had this horse. He's a slow plotter in a race that is pace compromised. And at least with Brunate and with Jose Gomez and with blinkers on, though I think the blinkers on is a bit of desperation for him at 1 for 18, he's going to be in the game. So I would rather take the alternative that's going to be in the game. So I took him. It's not an opinion I'm proud of or one that I'm betting a lot of money on, but I wanted some alternative, the favorite.
Yeah, no one in here inspires a lot of confidence in this race, but I'm with Actuary, the 5. It is tough to see where he's going to be able to win this race.
I agree with you. I think he's one of these horses, when you first look at him, he looks kind of appealing. But as you start digging deeper and deeper into it, he's a tough horse to get home here. And I am Mike Maselli's biggest fan.
5-1 right now. There's part of Team Bond, the brothers.
Jimmy, Kevin and Ryan.
We'll see if they can get a W here and get their picture taken. Brunate coming up in the 7th when we come back.
Eclipse champion Blade ranks among the nation's top sires at a fraction of the price. His recent top runners include Aga Khan stud Saidabad, a top performer overseas, plus these recent standout performers. With success on the track and success in the ring, this proven son of Arch is truly a gold value stallion. Blade, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions. And offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Naira Bets.
If you're looking into racing partnerships, you should know they're not all the same. When you partner with Bond Racing Stables, you become a member of a growing family of racing enthusiasts, all guided by 3 generations of experience in thoroughbred breeding, training, and racing. Sharing the excitement at Saratoga and Belmont Park, where we've graced a winner's circle with winners like Giacosa, who was bred, born, and raised here at our Song Hill Farm. Get more than just a partnership. Become a member of the Bond Racing family. 3 generations of thoroughbred excellence.
How does horse racing support New York's economy? It's responsible for 19,000 jobs and more than $3 billion in annual statewide economic impact. These good-paying jobs support working families across the state and sustain thousands of small businesses both on and off the track. Horse racing in New York means jobs and opportunities now and in the future. We are New York horse racing.
Back on America's Day at the Races. Good to have you with us. Race 7 next here in New York on an 8-race card Friday. Here's our post-parade. We start with Maddie's Marauder.
Also trained by David Donk, who trains the favorite Timburo Sox. Has races that give him a hint of a chance. 1 for 18, like many of these.
And here is the favorite. He was close to the pace, and he won in his 10th career start finally.
But even though it took him 10 starts to break his maiden, he has the second most lightly raced horse in the field, and he's the controlling speed.
Actuary at 5-1, Dylan Davis.
To be fair, if you like him, he's not a terrible price. It's just hard taking his form apart to see him winning at 6 furlongs. I almost wonder if he's prepping for a turf race since we'll be back on the turf. First race supposed to be scheduled next Thursday.
Can't wait. Run, Casper, run. Blinkers on, went by, and here's the 7.
Yeah, I blame it on Brutus. He's got the one good figure. It's not a figure that holds up to scrutiny.
And the Bon Barn with Brunate, blinkers on outside.
His recent form is not a lot to write home about, but he does have some of the best race of anybody. He should be well placed tactically. I picked him, but there is a reasonable question whether or not he's even competitive anymore.
Jonathan, 7th race, 3-2 favorite we're looking at right now. How are you going to play it?
Yeah, look, I'm going to lean on the 3 Timburo Sox. This is look, I'm not crazy about betting this horse right off the maiden win, but what I am crazy about is the fact this horse has the fastest early pace figures. So unless something ridiculous happens, this horse is meant to be out in front. And I think it's going to get a very similar trip to last time. Get loose out there on the front end, get brave. And like I said, there's a huge edge in early speed when you look at pace figures and you look at Timburo Sox compared to everyone else. Now, this horse does get a little hungry around the 16th pole and starts to slow down, but I feel like he's going to have a big enough lead that shouldn't be a problem. Now, I also talked about the 5 Actuary when I did my pick 3 ticket, and Actuary was kind of my second choice in here. So horse, just from a speed figure standpoint, puts himself right in the mix, but it just has a lot to do to try to make up ground on the 3 Timburo Sox. So although it doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy, I do like the 3 Timburo Sox, and I will make that my selection.
Public agrees, 8-5. He does look like he's on his toes coming off that win.
It's hard to argue with the point that Jonathan's making, and he's making the same point we all are. Listen, we're on here, and we have to make picks. Some of our picks we're going to like more than other picks, and that's the nature of everything. And he is the horse to beat in this race. There's no denying it. I decided to take a little shot against him, but to be honest with you, at 9-5 on Timburo Sox and 2-1 on Bernade, I'm not sure I made the right choice because at similar prices, Timburo Sox is probably a better bet.
Yeah, the more we kind of look at this race and dive into it, and now 8-5, the more I kind of side with this one here. Let's go to Mig, get his thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I understand why Timburo Sox is a favorite. He does look sharp, coming off a sharp win, has speed. He came to the paddock with earmuffs on, as did his stablemate, the one horse, which is something that Dave Donk does a lot. He believes that horses, react and spook from noise, and sometimes you muffle the sound and they stay a little bit quieter. They were removed once they were saddled. I just preferred others from a physical perspective. I thought the 7 Blame It on Brutus looked absolutely fantastic for trainer Mark Hennig, carrying great weight. He's a big price. I do think he'll outrun his odds from what I see from a physical perspective. But I went up on the 8, Bernardi, who I think looks tremendous. I talked with Jimmy Bond, both his sons here in the paddock, and they were saying, you know, he always looks good, so that's nothing different. He does add blinkers, and sometimes I think he's been a little bit timid, and his best race when he was drawn 9 of 10. He's drawn outside in a smaller field today, gets a weighted break, 5-pound apprentice now. Jose Gomez, I just thought that there was a lot more to like about Bernardi from the outside. I think being outside and adding blinkers should help his cause a great deal for a horse that looks outstanding in the flesh.
Gray skies, but it's been a beautiful day for the most part.
I was out in the paddock before we came on air. It was gorgeous down there. The sun was out. It was fine until Mig went out there.
Thanks, Mig.
Richie's not having the best of luck with the weather. Not that Maggie has had a rough winter being out there either.
7-5 on Tamburro's Socks. Now 6-5. Wow, late. This money's really coming in here.
Well, listen, I mean, we talked about it. He's not supposed to be the same price as the 8.
Yeah.
And there's really nowhere else to go in here. You look at this board, it hasn't moved that much, and I have no confidence in my pick here. I took him. I'd rather bet him 3-1, 7-2. We'll see if he goes up a little bit.
Favorite stepping in with Jorge Vargas Jr. Brunate for the Bond Barn 007. Outside post without equipment change. Blinkers on the 8. And the apprentice, Jose Gomez. Let's go upstairs. John Imbrial, the call.
Waiting for Blame It on Brutus and Brunate. They're in the gate. And they're off. Number 6, Run Casper Run, just walked out of the starting gate, trails the field. Tamburro Socks away well. Brunate's on the outside with Actuary up close down at the rail. Matty's Marauder. Then Blame It on Brutus, who is racing in 5th, and after the slow start, Run Casper Run is the trailer. Tamburro Socks leads here by a length and a half. Brunati in 2nd by a head with Actuary at the rail and in 3rd. It's 3 lengths. Back to Matty's Marauder, the quarter win in 22 and 4. Tamburro Socks in front here by 2. Brunati runs in 2nd. Actuary tailing off just a bit there in 3rd. Matty's Marauder is next in 4th at the back. Blame It on Brutus and Run Casperon, and they're all chasing Tamburro Socks, who will take the field to the top of the stretch. Brunati is in 2nd. The half went in 47 seconds. It is Tamburro Socks who is holding on to the lead here over Brunati. Then Matty's Marauder in 3rd as they come down for the 8th pole. Brunati and Tamburro Socks. Tamburro Socks on the inside, Brunati on the outside. The two of them will battle it to the finish. Here is Brunati to take over in deep stretch and win it by a length. Tamburro Socks was 2nd. Matty's Marauder finished 3rd.
Things look good for Tamburro Socks coming out of the turn, but Brunate in the end able to run him down. We continue our tremendous record here. We run a feature on your barn. Good things come up in the next race.
That's right. Don't ever turn us down. It's just really like Jonathan said, right? He said when Tamburro Socks gets a little weak-kneed, or I'm just paraphrasing him, at the 16th pole, well, that's kind of what happened. And, you know, what we talked about beforehand was the case. Bernardi was able to put himself in striking distance and stalk outside of him. He was the 2-1 second choice. He ran him down. I don't think Tamburro Socks ran badly in here. Bernardi was just able to get it done.
2 for 18 now. And he goes off as the second choice at 2-1. Apprentice Jose Gomez with the victory. And a 5-year-old son of Normandy Invasion. And the Bond Barn, they own this one as well. Bond Racing Stable. So another slight favorite defeated as we head back to Oaklawn. This 6th race coming up next starts the late pick 4. 2-turn mile, $100,000 allowance optional claiming race, and Stellar Tap back for the 3rd start of his 3-year-old season.
I'd like to book him at 6-5 in this race. He's one of the more disappointing 2-year-old, 3-year-olds because he looked like he could be a potential Breeders' Cup type quality horse off of that maiden win, the record-breaking maiden win for Steve Asmussen. With that pedigree, he hasn't been bad, but he's been a massive disappointment.
Just, he looked too good first time out, and he got all that attention too because it was a record-breaking win for Steve Asmussen.
Tap it. I mean, he had all the accoutrements to be a really good horse. Ran a fast race. He wasn't even bet that day. Well, maybe they were right in not betting. We just happened to win. You and I both like Ruggs on the outside. I'm going to have to bet him at 5 to 1.
All right, we'll get to him in a moment. We start with Magoo from the Rail McLean Robertson.
Well, it looks like there's plenty of pace, so even though he's got speed, others may be faster.
Even money on Stellar Tap.
He is a closer in a race filled with speed. He has Joel Rosario, all the accoutrements, once again, to be overbet.
Wow. Short price. He has been in very tough company off that debut maiden win. 3 graded stakes in his next 4 starts. Clancy's Pistol. He's won back-to-back starts at Oaklawn.
He's moving up, so it's it's sort of a tougher field, but his figures are good enough, and they could be moving up front. He's not impossible.
90s Country, Staten Flurry of She Dares the Devil fame, owns this one.
Don't you feel like this horse is just a little too slow, stretching out, and plus in a race where there's other speeds?
Concept, Steve Asmussen, Ricardo Santana Jr.
Yeah, this horse ran the fast figures of anybody. Unfortunately, those figures are at Remington Park. Don't know how much you can trust them being duplicated here.
Got a 91 buyer figure, but it's gone backwards kind of since.
Yeah.
And then here's Ruggs outside Ron Moquette.
Right post for that stalking trip here. He's got speed. I see him stalking. Ran against Zozos. Ran against We the People. I think he gets the right class relief. And if he's 5 to 1, I'm betting.
Yeah, he has tackled, no question, the toughest company of anybody. 5 minutes to post here in the late pick 4. Let's go to Lafitte and Gary.
Yeah, Greg, Stellar Tap hasn't done much since that record-shattering moment, but he'll always have a special place in Steve Asmussen's heart and certainly the record books, Gary. Asmussen, going to be a busy Saturday tomorrow. He's running 16 horses in 11 races, a week after sweeping the Fairgrounds Oaks and Louisiana Derby with Epicenter. How impressed were you?
Well, I'll tell you this, Lafitte. He became my leader in the run to the Kentucky Derby after this effort that he puts in here. The ease that he does things. Joel Rosario just under a mild hand right now. He's not even asking him for his best. He's got that long stride on him, gives him a little tap on the shoulder, and he just accelerates, comes away from the field. And this is twice in a row that he's put performances together like this without being challenged. He looks like the type of colt that's going to relish a mile and a quarter. This is the only prep race that's run at a 1 3/16 that he just won there.
New Dimension Epicenter stock pounce. About the only thing missing on the Asmussen resume is a Kentucky Derby win. Another look at the Arkansas Derby field. Asmussen already with 4 wins in the Arkansas Derby. Trying for a 5th Gary chasing time. Number 2, 12 to 1 on the morning line. Jose Lascano takes over. Somewhat disappointing in the Rebel. Why should we feel better about his chances in the Arkansas Derby? Should we feel better?
I think there's hope because it's Steve Asmussen. We can see horses improve and leaps and bounds. He could have run this horse in the Sunland Park Derby. Easier spot than this was, on paper anyways, it looked like. And he chose to leave him here and give him another chance. You know, that weather we had just during the running of the race, prior to it clouded up and we had a deluge of rain, it listed the track as fast, but halfway through that race, it became a sloppy racetrack. Maybe he didn't like the kickback in his face. He wasn't involved. He sort of got shuffled to the middle of the pack going into the first turn under Tyler Gaffleone. The allowance race he won, the race before he had an easy lead, but he had showed ability to be able to sit just off of the pace before, showed some good gate speed earlier on in his 2-year-old year. So he does possess some gate speed, but for whatever reason, he was chasing time that day. He was not himself, and I think there's hope for some improvement if it's Steve Asmussen.
It needs to step up. That was the first race he wasn't actually favored. It was his stakes debut. My Racehorse Stable owns Chasing Time, of course, also co-owners Forbidden Kingdom, running next week in the Santa Anita Derby. Gary, then about an hour, 20 minutes before the Arkansas Derby Grade 3 Fantasy, Oaklawn signature race for 3-year-old fillies, 170 Oaks points available, 100 to the winner. Asmussen will saddle number 4, Magic Circle. First start for Asmussen, previously with Rudy Rodriguez. What are you expecting from her? What do you know about her?
Well, you'd like to see this type of race. This was going a further distance than she had run, 1 1/8 here. She shortened up to the mile in her next race. Didn't perform as well. So maybe it was the easy lead. Maybe it was the competition she kept this day, but she's going to have to run somewhere about this and then improve slightly. But she's got to definitely come back to this victory in the Basanda to be competitive.
Asmussen is saddled for the last 6 fantasy winners. Terra Promessa, Ever So Clever, Lady Apple, Pauline's Pearl. Will Magic Circle be next? We'll find out tomorrow around 6:15 Eastern. Maggie, that's all tomorrow for Steve Asmussen and his runners in the Arkansas Derby and the undercard. What about the pair gearing up for this upcoming 6th race at Oaklawn?
Well, he's trying to get back on track here with Stellar Tap, as Andy had pointed out, a horse that showed so much promise as a young 2-year-old. But I've always thought that despite that pedigree being by Tappet out of Medaglia d'Oro mare, that he kind of looked more like a sprinter. Well, that's been his fastest race to date and his lone win to date. But as Steve said, maybe he just threw this horse off the deep end of the pool and expecting too much of him from a class perspective. So taking a step back, regrouping here with this a other than try. I will say he has actually gotten a bit longer in his frame, going from 2 to 3, but he hasn't really filled out. And he just seems, in the way that he's acting, a little bit on the dull side, a little bit lackluster. So I don't have the strongest feelings about him, honestly, at 4 to 5. From a physical perspective, I preferred Steve's other horse in here, number 5, Concept. I did downgrade him slightly once getting on the track. He looked better in the paddock, but he is very sharp. I'll give him that. And he's a beautifully put together son of Gun Runner. And last time out, a bunch of long shots were scrambling for the lead. He sat right behind it, in which the pace just collapsed that day. So they're kind of regrouping with him, but he looks ready for this comeback race. The interesting horse in here is number 4. That's 90s Country. Always love some 90s Country. And for a Brad Cox trainee to be the longest shot on the board, well, maybe that's saying something and saying something negative. But I kind of like this horse stretching out. I know on the bottom side it is more sprint, but he's by Connect, who has been firing with his route runners, and he's a big, rangy horse. So physically, at least, this stretch out from the 6, which he was coming off of that long layoff last time. I think he needed the race in which the way that he ran. He looks fit, he looks tight here, he looks sharp. I think he's a bit interesting at a big price. I don't know if he wins, Greg, but I think you get a piece of this for sure.
Then we'll have to play a little Chattahoochee in the winner's circle. Some 90s Country for you.
Yeah, I'm not. Maggie and I are gonna have a much more detailed discussion about 90s Country at some point going forward, because I got to learn about 90s Country.
11 to 1 on the 4. Florent Giroux, Brad Cox. Real quick, just back to the fantasy for a moment.
Yeah.
You were talking to me off screen about Bubble Rock. Never been on dirt yet. Is the morning line favorite in the race?
That seems like. And keep in mind, we're admitting it. Ida, the morning line favorite, scratched.
Right.
But still, now inherits that. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's not an easy race to make the price. I'm interested in the horse in the rail, Dream Lith.
And this doesn't make any sense either, does it?
This is insane.
Stellar Tap at 3 to 5.
This is insane. I mean, first of all, they're betting Joel Rosario like he's winning like Chad Brown is. He's not. And he doesn't have any bigger fans than the two guys sitting up here. But he's winning at 20%, roughly, maybe 22%. What am I missing about it? He was absolutely awful, with frankly a pretty good trip in the Rebel. And with all due respect, that Rebel was not one of the all-time great stake races. I mean, what? He's okay.
Betting Jonathan like this horse cannot lose this race today.
Yeah, I mean, maybe 4 starts ago I could see why this horse would be being bet like this off of that maiden win, but we have more evidence that Stellar Tap hasn't really turned into the horse I think we thought Stellar Tap might turn into. I thought the horse to the inside, the one Magoo, made a little bit of sense. It's a horse that just seems to be kind of improving. Might appreciate a little bit of a shorter distance going to that mile. He's been productive going the mile in the 16th, but maybe that little half, that 16th, might help him a little bit. Aggressive ride from the inside. And then the 3 Clancy's Pistol. Clancy's a dangerous place for someone to have a pistol, by the way. But the 3 Clancy's Pistol, I thought this horse ran well switching to Diodoro, and I think probably could take another step forward with Diodoro. I know Diodoro had a little bit of a slump earlier in the meet, but he seems to be kind of striking at that Diodoro rate we've seen in the past. So I'll take those 2 horses as the alternative to the 2 Stellar Tap, who seems to be extremely overbet.
Yeah, 3 to 5. The gray in the background there, that is Stellar Tap, taking way too much money regardless of what happens in here. So it's another opportunity in this race to play against an overbet favorite.
I'm even worrying that Jonathan and I are thinking of the same bad jokes when he made the reference to number 3. This is a horse that's overbet by connections in here. And I do get it. There does appear to be speed on paper. He is a bit of a stayer, but his last race is not a good effort. And just because he comes out of the Rebel doesn't mean he's better than these horses. I'm trying Ruggs.
Was third 2 back to Pioneer and Medina, who wound up third in the Louisiana Derby.
Yeah, no, but Pioneer and Medina has run a couple of good races. I think he ran okay in the Risen Star, relatively speaking, in a subsequent start, but still.
Vic Stauffer with the call. Here's the start of the pick 4.
They're off. Concept, Magoo, and Ruggs all break well. Stellar Tap is next, then 90s Country, and the early trailer is Clancy's Pistol. It is Concept at the clubhouse turn. He's a half length in front of Ruggs in second. Magoo is back in third early, and he's on heels, then comes to the outside and 90s Country. Then Stellar Tap. He's the gray, and he's a tugging gray at that. Fifth and 2.5 off the lead. Clancy's Pistol 3 wide to the backstretch, and the leader is Concept. Concept 3/4 of a length from Ruggs in second. Magoo is tucked in at the rail third. Then comes to the outside in Clancy's Pistol. 90s Country is between horses, and Stellar Tap is now sixth and last, but he's only 2.5 from the front. Midway on the backstretch, the finish line is the 16th pole, and Concept is trying to get there first. No excuses for Ruggs today. He's had a perfect trip pressing the front runner. To the outside in 90s Country, Magoo is at the rail. Stellar Tap is still loaded with nowhere to go. He is fifth and 2.5 off the lead. Clancy's Pistol is now the trailer as they quicken leaving the backstretch, and here's Ruggs to try to put ahead in front of Concept. Ruggs is outside, Concept inside. These two now sprint along. It's 2.5 lengths now back to Stellar Tap, who's about to split horses and take third. Magoo is next, and then comes to the outside in 90s Country. It is Concept and Ruggs. Stellar Tap is now coming after those two, and he's within 1.5 lengths of the lead, and Ruggs has that lead. It is Ruggs in front. Magoo is at the rail. Stellar Tap, 90s Country. Ruggs is clear now, though. Ruggs now has a 2-length lead. 90s Country and Stellar Tap battle second and third. It is Ruggs in front. Ruggs won by 3. Stellar Tap second. 90s Country third. Magoo finished fourth.
Ruggs, David Cabrera, Ron Moquette. We talked about who he'd faced, and it wasn't even close from a talent standpoint.
He absolutely galloped. He got a good trip in here, and he galloped. I mean, he was a ridiculous overlay at 6-1 because of the money the 2 was taking. And some are going to say Stellar Tap had this tough trip in behind horses. You know what? He didn't have any finish. Frankly, the horse who really ran better than it looks is horse Maggie, like 90s Country, who blew the brake, rushed up wide to go after the pace setters, and still just missed second. Stellar Tap, I can't wait to bet him against him again next time he gets bet. And Ruggs is just a horse who paid way too much money.
6-1 on this horse from a 7-2 morning line, and sort of forgotten because all the money went to Stellar Tap. Surprisingly.
Yeah, I
there
mean,
was no
whether you had a winner or not, there was a universal feeling on this show that the Stellar Tap was being overbet. As Jonathan said, maybe 5 starts ago, I would have taken him at 3-5.
He nailed
but
it there.
Not after what we've seen so far. This was just this wasn't a great pick on our part. This was just a badly misbet race. This horse should have paid about $7.
We'll have the prices from this one when we come back on the eve of the Arkansas Derby in Hot Springs at Oaklawn Park. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Harris Farms, proudly standing Smiling Tiger, a triple grade 1 winner, defeating Breeders' Cup champions Dancing in Silks and Amazombie, a leading California sire with over $9.7 million in progeny earnings, with 94 winners in 2021 and graded stakes superstars like Spice Perfection.
Spice Perfection wins the Grade 1 La Brea.
And Tiger Dad. Smiling Tiger, a leading California sire, standing at Harris Farms. It pays to be Cal bred.
We are back. The New York Racetrack Chaplaincy of America held a groundbreaking ceremony on Monday, March 28th for a multi-purpose building and chapel in the grounds of Belmont Park. And who is that guy right there, the master of ceremonies?
Yeah, it was a little chilly out there, I have to say, but it was really a wonderful thing. And the Racetrack Chaplaincy, and you see Dave O'Rourke, our president and CEO, Michael Dubb, of course, very involved. A lot of different people out there for it, a lot of different sort of luminaries from the area. And I can't say enough about the chaplaincy and all of the nonprofits on the backstretch, whether it's BEST, the Belmont Employee Services Team, the Belmont Child Care Association, the BCCA, and the chaplaincy do so much for the people on the backstretch that do so much for us. We wouldn't be sitting up here getting paid to do this if it wasn't for the hard work of the people on the backstretch. And frankly, for me, just to be asked to participate is an honor. And what Humberto Chavez does, and everything going out there, it's a great organization, and I'm really proud to have any association, to be able to barnacle onto them, frankly.
Yeah, Humberto Chavez, as you said, he's the chaplain. Let's hear from him.
The dream itself was in my heart since 2003, as soon as I walked into a spring morning into our backstretch. As soon as you walk in, you see the trees and the greenery, and I just felt that it was important at that time to really look forward to the near future, to bring a chapel center into our backstretch.
I'm just warning you, Greg, I got a shovel.
You get to keep it.
They got a shovel, yeah. I got to keep a shovel. Yep.
Is it in your office?
It's going to probably be in my office at Belmont. I may bring it to the set a little bit, so it's just a real warning to everybody.
No, great to see that all come together, and special thanks to everyone who contributed and put money into. You saw Michael Dubb speaking there. He donated all the materials for the buildings.
Michael had given them 2 trailers umpteen years ago, and the 2 trailers are there, and they've basically been their housing for the last many years, and now getting a chance to build this 3,500 square feet building. It's really a great thing, and I can't say enough about the good that all of those organizations do for the people in racing.
8th race here in New York coming up, going to close out this card. We'll get to it in a moment. Bon Barn owns and trains Brunate, gets by Tambro Sox for the win, $6.40.
And there's a certain magic in allowing us to do a feature about you. It's very clear. It just means you win. We showed the Bond feature.
Yeah, no,
there's a certain magic to you, Greg, also. I don't want to say there isn't.
It does happen a lot on our program.
It is funny how that happens, yeah.
Got 1 leg remaining in this late pick 5, the biggest price so far, 6-1. But you beat a favorite in that last race.
Yeah, it's $55 or $60 parlay for 50 cents. But I bet you if you look at the pick 5s with the 2 favorites, and hard to believe Chad Brown's horse is actually favored in this case over the Mott horse.
We'll get back to it in a moment. 6th at Oaklawn. Stellar Tap went off at odds on. In the end, though, it was Ruggs.
Yeah, Ruggs was a dominant winner in this race, and Vic Stauffer was right when he said around the turn, the announcer, that no excuses from here, and they got in the stretch. He powered away. Okay, Greg, we just discussed that. The parlay right now, so I think it's a little over $200 for $2 in the pick 5, going back to New York. The 2 pick 5s, the favorites are paying $797 and $855 for 50 cents. The parlay is like under $60.
Wow. I'm so upset at myself right now.
You could be a millionaire.
For not playing today. This is coming up next. Friday finale for the Big A, and Chad Brown with Key Point to 5, favored at 7-5. He's got some tough company to try and hold off, though. We'll talk more about it next.
They say breed the best of the best and hope for the best.
Vacoma broke well on the outside.
But you don't expect to get speed like this.
It is Vacoma, the one to catch. Vacoma has a 5-length lead in this Grade 1 corner. Vacoma continues to battle on down at the rail. It is Vacoma who's going to win the Met Mile.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
Oaklawn Park Saturday. Top-ranked 3-year-olds face off in the $1,250,000 Grade 1 Arkansas Derby, the final leg of the Kentucky Derby Prep Series at Oaklawn Park. Watch and play the Arkansas Derby Saturday live on FS1.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. RTN has packages that start at $5 per month.
Back on America's Day at the Races. Got the Nightcap coming up from New York, and it is a good one. I mean, you can make the argument this is the feature on the card.
Oh, no doubt about it. This is an excellent race. It really is. And I would say to you, it's kind of surprising that Chad Brown is actually favored in this race, but I don't think it's surprising if he runs a goat in a race and that horse is favored at this point. And the goat would probably win.
Yeah. 6-5 on key point for Chad Brown. Let's go downstairs to Mig.
I think this is a terrific way to end the day here at Aqueduct. Just such a deep, competitive race. Yeah, you have some horses that have shown great ability, and obviously the Chad Brown horse 1 for 1. But let's start from a physical perspective. Some of the other runners. The one looking for trouble, homebred for Bill Butler. I mean, could not look any better. Just outstanding in the flesh, carrying great weight, great coat for a horse that spent the winter in New York. Looks like he's actually coming out of Florida. He's kind of got that Florida tan, if you will. The 3, Kid De Oro, just a little bull of a horse. I mean, he's just so strong and stout. Problem is his trainer, who wins at a high percentage everywhere else, tends not to have quite the same success here in New York, but a very, very solid individual himself. The 5 key point could not look any better. Just what you expect from a Chad Brown runner. Looks extremely fit. Looks like the layoff should not be an issue, which is the case with most of Chad Brown runners. And a horse that really caught my eye, kept drawing me back to him at a big price that I just really, really attracted to, is the 7 Mass Marauder, making his second start for Rudy Rodriguez. Could not look any better in the paddock. Like I said, just kept grabbing my attention.
He is 13-1. Thank you, Mig. That's 7 Mass Marauder from 30-1 on the morning line. We'll see.
I agree with Richie. It's a great way to end the day and head into the weekend.
Here's our post-prep. We start with Looking for Trouble. Dylan Davis from the inside at 8-1.
He ran fine in his last race. I mean, the problem is that, he's sort of forcing the rail, but he is probably the speed of the speed in this race. You worry, though, that the number 10 Bold Journey will be breathing down his throat.
American Pie fans all over this one.
Yes. I didn't get that until now, Greg. Maybe he'll improve second off a layoff.
Wow. I like this horse on paper, and I love the way he looks.
Yeah. The problem is this barn's horses do not reproduce their efforts at Parks when they come to New York.
It's Gravy, 20-1.
I thought he was a little interesting to get a piece of the pie off a long layoff in this race. He has some races that could get him 3rd or 4th at a price.
Key point, here's the Chad Brown runner.
I like his chances here, but I liked his chances as the second choice to Bold Journey. At the given prices of 6-5 and 10-1 right now, which will change, I would bet the other one.
Here's the one Mig talked about. Looked great in the paddock.
Not going to knock a Rudy Rodriguez horse that Mig likes the look of, but he will have to improve.
The 9, 40 Comets, Jimmy Ryerson.
He made a nice little run to sort of pick up the piece for a second, and the horse who beat him in there, Reggae's Music Man, came back with a big win.
Bold Journey, he was on the Triple Crown trail for a moment. Now back to softer company.
Now back to reality and heading towards the New York Triple Crown races. I actually think he's the horse to beat. I don't think the prices are just wrong in this race.
And then Taco Bean, 20-1 outside.
He's another horse that could get a piece of the price and come clunking along for 3rd or 4th at a big price.
5 minutes to post in a very strong Nightcap. Jonathan, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I mean, this is kind of one of those classic cases we've talked about on the show quite often, where you see, especially this time of year, where you see these 2-year-olds, horses that were 2 with their performances when they were 2, come back here and make their first start as 3-year-olds. And when their speed figures are within contention to what other horses are earning as 3-year-olds, it's something that I think that you want to take into account. And if you look at the race back in August at Saratoga, Key Point earned, if you look at Timeform US, earned a 91 that day. And that's a pretty early 2-year-old race. I mean, it's not as early as, you know, a Keeneland with the Wesley horse, but pretty early in the year in August, and this horse ran a 91 that day. Now, you get 232 days off in between. You get that natural progression from 2 to 3. You can expect that this horse will run 10 to 12 to 15 points faster at this time of year, just running the same race and not really even improving, just from a maturity standpoint. And if that happens, he's right there with the 10, Bold Journey. Bold Journey ran an 82 last time, 104, 102 times prior to that. So for me, it just feels like there's more upside with Key Point. Now, if you aren't on that bandwagon of the upside of Key Point, the other way to look at it, and it's not the wrong way to look at it, is that Bold Journey's already there. And you know Bold Journey is likely to run in the hundreds if you're looking on the Timeform US scale, and you're getting a better price. You can go that way as well. I wouldn't argue either way. Just for this situation, I'm going to go with Key Point to take that step forward, winning first time out. I know the horse runs well fresh, and like we've talked about ad nauseum, Chad Brown is winning a lot of races at this time of the year.
He's ruining it for all of us because we're not getting the price we want on his horses.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much all the things that Jonathan was talking about. When you have a horse like the 5 Key Point that ran a comparable figure 8 months ago, routine improvement makes him a better horse than Bold Journey. Having said all that, I picked Key Point because I thought you might get a little bit of value. Bold Journey was stake face, coming down, cutting back, and maybe he would be 8 to 5, and Key Point would be 2 to 1. I obviously misread that. So at these prices, I'd be more inclined to want Bold Journey, but I do like Key Point, and he is my top choice in the race.
This was the gander, and earlier in this race, he was a little bit rank, and he was kind of throwing his head around, but at this point it looked like, okay, it's over, he's home free. He's going to get run down.
I remember watching it, sitting up here with you watching it, and we were just
couldn't believe it.
Stunning. And originally I thought he just collapsed and couldn't get the mile, but the speed figure came back so strong that I really think that the Barisi, who was headed to the Wood Memorial, just ran him down in here. Cutting back to 6.5 furlongs is not going to hurt him, and the fact that he should be stalking the speed of the number 1 will help him. But another thing about Key Point, when Key Point won that race at Saratoga, his debut, I thought that track was tilted towards speed, which was the case throughout much of the meet in Saratoga. So he was not exactly with the flow of the racetrack, and he still won the race impressively. This is a nice matchup. It's an unusual matchup. And the other thing is, it's not as though these are two monsters running against a bunch of turkeys. I mean, if the 3 is able to duplicate that form from Parks, something that we're skeptical, but if he's able to run the 2 races he just ran at Parks, both the favorites are in big trouble in this race. Now, we're skeptical that's going to happen, but that's a fact. It's not like, I mean, by the way, I just also want to point something out. Do you know this track was listed as good and sealed?
Was it really?
That's sloppy and sealed to me. I could be wrong, but I think when there's puddles in the track, come on, guys. People are betting these races. They deserve the right racetrack.
He's a machine at Parks. I mean, these last 2 races, this was at 6.5 furlongs. The race before that, a mile 70. I mean, both of them earned the same figure from the thoroughgraphs I look at, and they were light years ahead of anybody else in here.
Oh, he's better than these horses based on those races. The problem is, in his prior race was a fast race on a fast track. The problem is that Jamie Ness wins at almost 30% at Parks. And he's 1 for 25 over the last 5 years in New York, and that one win was riding a gold rail with a horse that hasn't run back to that number in New York. And even before that, he was doing even worse. That was his first win in a long time. He's just not a trainer that you can rely on to run as well with his horses in New York as they do at Parks for whatever reason.
Meanwhile, 7 to 5 on a horse making just his second start, his 3-year-old debut. He did drift out in the stretch as well in that win. Let's go to Mig.
Yeah, guys, I just watched them warm up on the racetrack, and I'm still gravitating a lot towards the 1, looking for trouble. I love what I saw in the paddock. Horse looks fabulous. She's got to overcome the rail draw. Dylan's going to have to be aggressive, make sure he gets position and holds position, but looking for trouble, making a really nice impression. I am going to go with the 3, Kid de Oro, and I have the same skepticism, just what Andy was talking about, but he's the only multiple winner in the race. He's got races that are fast enough, and I'll take a shot at the 4 to 1. I think 9 to 2 now. Just a little bull of a horse, kind of a horse that really attracted me to him. And like I said, the only multiple winner in the race. He is a 6-time winner. Listen, and Chad Brown's horse looks fabulous. This homebred for Jeff Drown, Key Point, he couldn't look any better. I just trying to take a little bit of a stab getting away from the 6 to 5, but it won't be any surprise when he runs away from this field.
Bold Journey, by the way, down to 2-1, the 10. We'll
Still-
see how this nightcap plays out.
Looking forward to this race all day. I think Bold Journey's okay. I think Chat horses, and it's not like there's other horses in this race that can't run. So we'll see if the two favorites are just better than these or if somebody else becomes the fly in the ointment.
Let's go to John Imbrial for the nightcap.
They're in the gate for race 8. And they're off. Hesitant start for the 2 a long, long time ago. Taco Bean from the outside looking for trouble from the rail. And in between those two, it is Key Point who is up close. Now Bold Journey moves up on the extreme outside from 4th. Kid Doro is at the rail racing in 5th. It's Gravy is next in 6th, followed by Masked Marauder in 7th. A long, long time ago is 8th at this point, and 40 Comets is the trailer in 9th. Looking for trouble, leads here by a half length. Taco Bean runs in 2nd with Bold Journey, and now up into 3rd, the quarter one in 22 and 3. Key Point is in 4th. Right alongside is Masked Marauder. Kid Doro is now dropping back, being passed by a long, long time ago. The leader is looking for trouble narrowly. Taco Bean. Bold Journey is 3 wide, and Masked Marauder is 4 wide as they come for the head of the stretch. And Key Point will look for a way through the half in 46 seconds. Here comes Masked Marauder now to grab the lead. Key Point is kicking in on the outside. Bold Journey is now back running in 3rd. Kid Doro is next with less than an eighth of a mile to the finish. It is Masked Marauder trying to pull off a big upset here. Key Point is wandering there as they come down for the finish. It's Masked Marauder and Key Point, and it's going to be very tight between Masked Marauder at 30-1 and Key Point even money.
Maybe the 7 able to hang on. Masked Marauder, Key Point was coming for him. He was 13-1 a couple of moments before they got in the gate. He floats up to 20-1.
All the money came in on the two favorites in this race, and Richie had mentioned he thought this horse was looking good out there. So he gave you a little inkling, and he really improved in here. Obviously, Key Point a little bit green, ducking out in the stretch.
As he did in his debut.
Yeah, caught a little bit, getting behind horses, having to swing wide around him, but the winner was 4 wide, so it's not as though the winner had some sort of advantage. 20-1 he ended up going off. They both ran very well in here, but this is a huge move forward. I'm going to tell you something. This is a fast race on this racetrack. I know these horses are better quality, but this comes up a very fast race. I know that it was a disappointing effort by Key Point in that he lost if you needed him, but he ran a winning race. He just ran to a horse that ran gigantic.
Off the bench, 3-year-old debut. He's only ran twice.
And Bold Journey, not for nothing. This was a very disappointing effort by him. And it's funny with the 3 Kid Doro. You and I were coming in the turn. He looked like he was backing up and going to finish last in there, and he actually did re-rally, but a distant 3rd in this race. This is going to come up a very, very fast race on numbers.
7-5-3-10. Masked Marauder the win as we head back to Oaklawn. And the 7th race coming up next. This non-winners the 2 claiming race. Our coverage tomorrow, it's just incredible. Secret Oath, the filly, taking on the boys in the Arkansas Derby. Coverage begins on FS1 starting at 4 Eastern time. Let's go back to Lafitte and Gary.
Greg, and 2-time and defending Eclipse Award-winning trainer Brad Cox, the year he had a season ago, winning a Belmont Stakes, a Travers, a Kentucky Derby 10 months after the fact, Gary. He had Zozos run 2nd in last week's Louisiana Derby. He's on to the Kentucky Derby. Tomorrow, Cox has Cyberknife, who's very talented. The question is, what's going on up here mentally? If he can mature in time to put that together with his physical talents and bring his best.
Yeah, well, I've talked to Florent Giroux, as a rider, and his last out at the fairgrounds was an incredible race. He ran as fast as the rest of these horses have run, including Secret Oath. But the problem is the mental aspect. You can see him wandering around a little bit here and just kind of taking things in. He's not putting his head down, really getting with it. There's more there than what we're seeing. So tomorrow is going to be a heck of a test for him mentally because there's going to be 60,000 people here. We've got a small claustrophobic paddock area. Those horses will be saddled in the paddock area and then led across the track, which is going to cause more chaos. And if they can handle this, they can handle the big dance. at Churchill Downs. I can guarantee you that. This is about as good of arena to test a horse for their behavior leading up to Churchill Downs.
Perfect final dress rehearsal. And just to clarify, Gary, Florent Giroux riding Cyberknife instead of We the People. It wasn't simply a matter of him, choosing one or the other. He was already committed to Cyberknife.
He was already committed. He said that he's shown things in the morning that he's never felt on a racehorse. And you got to remember, he was a regular rider for horses like Gunrunner. So he's been on good horses before. He knows when he's sitting on one. It's not any lack of talent that he has, but something that might be upstairs that they've got to deal with.
Brad Cox has never won the Arkansas Derby, finished second last year with Caddo River, Maggie, though he has won a fantasy and seeking a second tomorrow afternoon in Oaklawn signature race for 3-year-old fillies.
Right, the fantasy, Lafitte, and he's kind of taking a little bit of a shot in the dark, as the guys in New York were discussing earlier with the scratch of Ada. It looks as though, at least on the morning line, Bubble Rock is installed at 3-1 and could be the favorite for a filly who has never raced on dirt. But Brad Cox has said that she was showing enough prior to her first start as a 2-year-old on the dirt in Kentucky that they took her to Saratoga with the possibility of running her on the dirt, but that in the morning she struggled a bit with the deeper surfaces in New York, so therefore they stuck to the turf. Now, she's going to make this transition. Brad says that he likes the way she's been training, and this track, as I can tell you firsthand walking across it, is really tight. It's a much more similar to a turf course than our dirt races or dirt tracks in New York, so therefore it does look as though it suits her. But the problem is this is also the furthest she's ever run in her entire career, and it's always easier on synthetic or turf to get longer distances than on a tiring dirt surface. So it seems as though Brad is optimistic, but still at a short price, Greg, I think a lot of people would be willing to look elsewhere.
It's going to be so much fun on Saturday. We can't wait for our coverage again, 4 Eastern. Start time on FS1 on that road to the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby.
I'm going to tease Brad Cox if Bubble Wrap wins this race and remind him that Monomoy Girl made her first 2 starts to the turf. I think if she wins Kentucky Oaks, Brad won't mind being teased. No, I actually think she's a pretty good horse. I bet her in the Breeders' Cup, and she got completely left at the gate. Now, I'm, of course, sure she would have won because I'm never wrong. So, I think, but she did lose all chance in that turf Breeders' Cup race at the start.
That race just seems wide open.
I agree. I like Dreamlith, but I'm by no means confident.
As for this race coming up, out come the 2, and the 4 strike a beat, both at 8-5 on the board.
Okay. Outcome had the big win last time. I don't know about you, Greg. I hate taking horses, especially short prices, off big wins and bottom-level maiden claiming races. I would rather take Strike a Beat in here. Did you give much of a chance to the number 6 in this race? Stretching out again. I thought he could be a little interesting, stretching out second time off a layoff. He was shut off a little bit in the stretch. He actually lost a couple of lengths. It was very legit trouble. I mean, sometimes I see the comments there, and I think, yeah, that horse didn't really have any real trouble. It was sort of perceived trouble. I thought that Turn the Switch had some legit trouble last time.
Seems better on the turf, though.
I don't disagree with that, and maybe it's a prep before he heads up to Canterbury where they have a turf course. But he's run a little bit better going longer. I mean, I don't think it's going to take a Herculean effort to win this race, Greg.
No, that's
I'm going to bet
sure.
I'm going to box 4-6 in here. That's my plan. How's that?
Public all over this one right here. Outcome took him 5 starts. Second start in for maiden 10. He wins. He did win going away, so maybe he's turned the corner and just starting to come around. But this is going to be a lot tougher test than what he had to deal with last time, facing winners obviously for the first time.
I just hate horses that win at the bottom level like that and come back against tougher horses.
And it was 6 furlongs. We don't know what he's going to do at a mile.
Yeah, I think if I looked any stats up here, I did not look any stats up. Right. Why is this horse? And the other thing is, with the 7 Alpine Ghost in here, certainly not supposed to get the lead, and it's not like Chelsea Bailey isn't aggressive.
Let's go back to Maggie.
Taking a look at a few in here and kind of piggybacking off of you guys. But number 2, Outcome, the heavy favorite for a horse that's never been 2 turns in his life. And as Andy said, coming off a win in a bottom maiden claimer, yeah, he always looked like a winner, but I don't necessarily see this guy stretching out. He looks fantastic otherwise. He's the best looking horse as far as his conditioning, so on and so forth, but he's very compact, and he does not say longer is better, at least as far as distance is concerned. Now, number 6, Turn the Switch, I kind of have the same feelings, and as Greg said, he's a turf horse. At the end of the day, yeah, he did have a lot of trouble, and I was, you know, when I watched that last replay, I was really interested in him. Then when I started going back through his form, I'm not as convinced. And furthermore, I'm not that convinced looking at him. Honestly, he just looks like a turf miler. If you had to pinpoint him for a physical trait, that's exactly what he looks like. I thought at a huge price, and I can't really make up a scenario where this horse wins, but just one to use at a price is number 7, Alpine Ghost, as he does have that early speed, looked fantastic in the preliminaries thus far, and just one that looked as though he was doing well enough, Greg, to get a piece of it.
All right, Maggie, thank you. Favoritism shifting over to the 4 now. Strike a Beat.
Should be favored.
Yeah, 1 for 23 lifetime, but yeah, I certainly think I prefer that one over. At least the horse has ability, we know, going longer.
Yeah, and also he's only 0 for 4 in the dirt. And he's now second time for Carl Broberg. He drops down after the race off the claim. His race off the claim was solid enough to be able to win here, and it doesn't hurt these days to have Cabrera riding, huh?
Not at all. Huge day yesterday. We mentioned 4-win afternoon.
Well, he didn't want you to think that he only wins when you're out of town, Greg.
How many? He basically
blown open.
Rose from the ashes to take over the riding
blown
lead
it open
while I was gone. Let's go to Jonathan for his thoughts on the 7th.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not crazy about the price of the 4 Strike a Beat, but I will say that when you see a horse who kind of switches barns and then tries something different and then kind of has some success, I think there is reason to believe that it wasn't an aberration, that he'll actually run that well again. And Strike a Beat, who spent a lot of time on turf and synthetic, and even Norm McKnight tried to kind of switch this horse to 2 turns dirt and never really could get it to work out. But then once moving to Carl Broberg's barn, it seemed to have finally clicked. The light has seemed to come on. And if he runs the race he ran last time, he's going to be hard to beat, and he deserves to be 8-5. Just not 100% sure that's going to happen, but if you're going to, hold my feet to the fire, I'll take the 4.
And I believe we're all in agreement there.
Against the 2, he's probably
Strike a Beat the 4.
Probably
we'll
a
see what
cinch
happens.
the 2.
Stretching out 2 turns for the first time for the 2 outcome. See if he can handle it. 7th from Oaklawn is coming up. Vic Stauffer with the call.
Last to load will be Recklessness. They're at the post. They're off. Outcome broke very well, so did Strike a Beat. Not so much for Chase Tracker, but he's asked for speed. Alpine Ghost is next, then Doc Irwin and Recklessness, and the trailer is Turn the Switch. Outcome on the stretch out has the lead from Alpine Ghost, who's making him go pretty quick to the backside. Outcome 3/4 of a length. Alpine Ghost is second, a length and a half to Chase Tracker in third. Strike a Beat and David Cabrera settle into a good spot, fourth and about 4 from the front. 2.5 back to Turn the Switch and Doc Irwin. Recklessness is the trailer, and they're match racing up front now with Outcome and Alpine Ghost putting pressure on. Alpine Ghost is outside of Outcome, who leads by a head. Now these two have sprinted 4 lengths clear of Chase Tracker. It's another 4 to Strike a Beat. He is fourth with about 8 lengths to make up, but that might be the perfect spot. 2.5 back to Turn the Switch and Doc Irwin, and the trailer is Recklessness, and they leave the backstretch with Outcome still in front. Finish line is the 16th pole, and he's a neck in front of Alpine Ghost in second. Here's Chase Tracker moving up, and he's doing it in hand, as is Strike a Beat, and you better take a look at Strike a Beat and David Cabrera, because he has just slingshot to the front. Strike a Beat, suddenly 2.5 lengths in front of Outcome in second. Chase Tracker is third, and Turn the Switch fourth. fourth. Strike a Beat is the leader at the top of the stretch. He's got that 2.5 length lead. Outcome is battling on bravely. Chase Tracker is next, but Strike a Beat comes to the final 100 yards, and he's going to give David Cabrera his third on the day. Chase Tracker is second. Strike a Beat in front. Strike a Beat won by 3. Chase Tracker was second. Outcome third. Turn the Switch finished fourth.
4 yesterday, 3 today. As you heard from Vic Stauffer, David Cabrera on a roll, and this horse rolling by everybody with ease.
Yeah, he blew by them like they were standing still. I couldn't have got a better trip to get second with my 6 horse to fill out the exacta. I don't even think he got third. Actually, wasn't really that bad an effort by the co-favorite, the number 2 Outcome, who took a lot of pressure and held on for third in that race, but it set up very well for Strike a Beat.
So Strike a Beat with the win, now 2 for 24 lifetime, but that was pretty impressive from him against that group.
Yeah, he found the right spot there.
We're going to say goodbye to Andy. We'll see you back tomorrow on Arkansas Derby Day. Look forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it as well. You and Mig have some fun, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. We're going to take a timeout. Yeah, Mig joining me on the desk right after this. We're going to preview some of those earlier stakes on the card. Frank's Rockette in the Carousel beat in this race last year at even money. Little revenge on her mind. 5-year-old mare making her seasonal return to the races for Bill Mott and Frank Fletcher Racing.
Run Happy was at number 1 second prop sire by graded stakes winners and earnings. Run Happy is represented by Smile Happy, the Kentucky Derby individual future pool favorite. A leading dirt sire and now with an exciting Kentucky Derby hopeful. Call Bernie Sams now and book your mare to Eclipse champion Run Happy right now. Run Happy standing in stall 1 at Claiborne Farm.
Back on America's Day at the Races on FS2, program brought to you by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. The Nightcap in New York, one that Mig pointed out in the paddock, said looked like he was ready to roll, and he did and didn't. He held off the even money favorite Key Point for the win pace, $43.20. Rudy Rodriguez, apprentice Jose Gomez, Red Storm Stable, and the son of Palace Malice, that will give us a pick 6 carryover into Saturday and makes this pick 5 come back a very healthy $10,156. Well done, Mig. Nice call. Good to have you on set with me.
No, it was really nice to watch Jose Gomez. His continual improvement, really showing like a rider that's going to stick around. You know, sometimes the bug is good during the winter, but then when the competition gets a little bit stiffer, they tend to fade away. I don't think this kid's going anywhere. I really think he's kind of caught a little niche, very well handled by Angel Cordero Jr., Hall of Famer. If there was He's in the Hall of Fame as a jockey. If there was a Hall of Fame for jockeys agents, he'd certainly make that Hall of Fame as well, having handled the likes of Johnny Velasquez and Manny Franco as well.
It's fun to watch him in his continued ascent. Very young rider, but he's learning fast. Takes the Nightcap, that race in the books. We got an incredible card tomorrow at Oaklawn. Early on, race 5 at about 3:19 Eastern time. This starts this cross-country pick 5, by the way. Frank's Rockette is going to make her 5-year-old debut for Bill Mott.
Yeah, and, just a filly that has shown, a mare now, who's consistent, hard-knocking, closing in at $900,000 in earnings. Looks like she's been training well at Payson Park, a racetrack, a training center in Florida that gives horses a lot of foundation, Greg. A racetrack that they've got to work over to get through, and Frank's Rockette looked like she landed in a good spot.
Look, there's no doubt she was at her best. She was one of her biggest numbers as a 3-year-old filly. Still been remarkably consistent, though, at a high level. Can she be as good at 5?
Well, it's interesting. I used to have conversations with Alan Jerkins, the late great Hall of Fame trainer, and he would say sometimes you'd get fillies that were really good as 3-year-olds, and then they weren't quite as good at 4, but they never had a chance to run at 5 because they'd be packed away to go become brood mares. But the ones that were able to stick around rebounded and found their best form at 5. So it'd be interesting to see if that's the case with Frank's Rockette.
Love to see it. She's been a lot of fun to watch. Went against the boys in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Didn't go great, but she did take a lot of money, and it was warranted. She was running so good back in her 3-year-old campaign. So that's race 5 on the card on Saturday. As we look at acting out. Joy's Rocket, Little Tootsie, they were 1, 2, 3 last time out. They're all going to tackle Frank's Rockette in that carousel.
All right, so this was a race that was ran on what is labeled a fast track, but I think it was the first eighth of a mile had been fast, and because of the inclement weather, by the time they got to the half-mile pole, it was a sloppy racetrack.
Yeah. Snowy conditions on that occasion. For any of those to step, well, we don't know how Frank's Rockette's going to come back, but if she comes back what she's been, any of those 3 look like they'd be up against to try and beat her.
Frank's Rockette's B race is good enough to win this, and if she rebounds and comes back to the form she showed at 3, this is a good starting point for her.
John Ortiz, Barber Road. We're going to preview that Arkansas Derby still to come, but here's Maracuja, Coaching Club American Oaks winner from last summer, making the walkover for the feature. Coming up, stay with us.
The ultimate accolade for a racehorse is to be named Horse of the Year. To be enshrined to the Hall of Fame is to achieve immortality. As a stallion, genetic immortality is defined in 2 words: breed shaper, plain and simple. 2-time Horse of the Year and Hall of Fame inductee, Curlin is just that. Breed shaper, Curlin, the classic sire.
Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Nairo Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotions. And offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action and thrill of horse racing with Nairo Bets.
I bought a Tapper colt at the Keeneland September sale, and incredibly excited about that purchase. It was a colt that had plenty of size and scope and carried himself with a real presence that drew me to him.
I bought a Tapper colt out of Black Coronas at the Phasing 5th in July sale, out of a Curlin mare, big, beautiful horse. We're real excited about him coming up in the spring.
Taprit, standing at Gainesway.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than America'sBestRacing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. America'sBestRacing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
For a time, as many as 350 major league players converged in Hot Springs, Arkansas each spring to prepare for the upcoming season.
Ownership felt they needed to boil out the alcoholic microbes. Hot Springs was known as a place that had therapeutic waters, and they came for that reason. And then the ball players turned out to love it because they really not only did get in shape, but they had a great time.
By the 1930s, nearly half of all major league teams had, at some point, used Hot Springs as their spring training base. Plus, about half of all prominent ball players visited Hot Springs individually. Babe Ruth used to visit Hot Springs to work his way into shape, a place to prepare for spring training. In fact, the Babe even used the hot healing waters to recover from influenza. This wall at the Gangsters Museum of America in Hot Springs represents the long list of Hall of Fame baseball greats who trained here. The winter storm of 2021 is a reminder of why baseball eventually migrated away from Hot Springs. The rain proved to be a disruption, and sometimes even the cold and snow wiped out valuable practice time. Although by the 1930s most teams moved to Florida and Arizona, Hot Springs would continue to be a destination for players to work out before joining their major league squads for decades to come.
Incredible history out there in Hot Springs. And we're going to have an incredible Saturday for you coming up on the racetrack, with preps for both the Derby and the Oaks, and of course older horses in the Grade 3 Oaklawn Mile. This is a race that's going to kick off the 50-cent late pick 5. Bob Baffert and a former Bob Baffert runner going to take a lot of attention in this race. Let's go to Lafitte and Gary.
Oh, Greg Kimbrell is a Los Angeles Dodger. There's your Major League Baseball update. As for the Oaklawn Mile, you mentioned two-time Triple Crown winning trainer Bob Baffert won't have a chance to win a 5th Arkansas Derby. Doppelganger now with Tim Yakteen. We'll have much more on that tomorrow afternoon, Gary. But he does have Cezanne, a very expensive 5-year-old who doesn't run very often, but when he does, he usually brings his best.
Yeah, 6 races. He's won 5 of those 6 races, or 4 of those 6 races, excuse me. But when he shows up, he's fast. He prepped really nicely in his last 2 races at Santa Anita. I watched him train this morning. This horse is compact. He's not very tall. He looks like Rocky Marciano walking off the racetrack, like somebody you don't want to mess with. He's coming off of a nice 7/8 victory at Santa Anita last time out. Great prep for him. Worked out in 46-4 prior to coming here, flying here to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Arrived here 2 days ago.
Flavia Pratt, live stakes bounce tomorrow. Cezanne, Frank's Raquette in the Carousel, We the People in the Arkansas Derby. And then you have Folsom, Gary, ready to make his 4-year-old debut for Brad Cox. Some rust to shake off against some serious competition tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, another one that's been, raced sparingly. He's a 4-year-old, just turned 4-year-old, first race of 2022. Not an easy place to come back, facing the likes of Cezanne. But in saying that, Brad Cox, he's got the artillery over there, the competition that he can get these horses fit off of the layoff with their competition in the morning. And he's a guy who doesn't work them fast. The times don't look fast, but it's all about the gallop outs with this horse. I'd expect him to be very, very fit coming into this race. It should be a good matchup between Cezanne, amongst others in the race, but also Folsom.
As you mentioned, training well, Folsom. Instead of tangling with the likes of Olympiad last week in the New Orleans Classic, Brad Cox opted to run here. Good call. Greg, it's a $400,000 Oaklawn Mile, Grade 3, not bad for Grade 3. And while we're so accustomed to the first year, part of the year being dominated by the 3-year-olds, and rightfully so, this older horse division, very deep lot of talent moving forward.
Yeah, no question. I mean, Roadster was a horse back in the 2019 Derby. There was so much promise about. But this circuit, particularly, too, in the Midwest, with these older horses, we get to see some of these around for a long time, and they're still producing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you love to see these horses that stick around for multiple campaigns. I think it helps create a fan base. People latch onto a horse. They follow their entire career. And, listen, $400,000 purse this time of year, horses are going to come. You put up the money, and you're going to get a good, solid field like this.
And we got 10 of them showing up in that Grade 3 Oaklawn Mile. Again, that kicks off the late pick 5. Race 9 tomorrow at 5:40 Eastern Time. That will be part of our live coverage on FS1 on Arkansas Derby Day. Right now, odds for Race 8. Allowance optional claiming 2-turn mile and a 16th event. And Maracuja, Coaching Club American Oaks winner, making her 4-year-old return to the races for Rob Atras, Ricardo Santana Jr. Gary Stevens had said that was the best ride of the meets. He's back aboard today. Let's go to Maggie.
It was. That CCA Oaks ride was just really a rider's race because there weren't many horses in there, Greg, and Ricardo definitely played it the smartest. And I like the fact that he began to use this filly's early speed because it's there. And we'll watch and see how he chooses to warm her up today. But she's come in full of energy, just ticking every box for a horse that is coming back off of a long layoff. And I thought I liked what I'd seen when I watched her in the barn. And I like her even more now that she's here in the paddock. She, once again, really striding out well. She has grown a lot, and she's always been a frame of a filly that it looked as though she needed to fill that out. Well, she's begun to, especially across her top line and her chest. She's just become a barrel and a bear of a filly. So needless to say, I like what I'm saying from Maracuja, and sometimes, as I always say, it's relative to the competition, and with a good performance here, this could set her up really nicely for the Apple Blossom. Next, we'll check in with another filly that is rapidly improving. That's number 1, Lil King's Princess for Johnny Ortiz. Looking forward to sending out Barbara Road tomorrow in the Arkansas Derby. This is one that she seems to be very content when controlling on the front end, and now her job gets a little bit easier this time around, considering that she has the inside post. Relative to Maracuja, I don't like her as much looking at her physically. She's a little bit of a lighter framed filly. I wish she carried a little bit more conditioning across her top line, but she, as a filly that has speed, is lively here in the paddock, and I loved watching her last replay where she went around there with her ears pricked. She loves having the front end. Greg?
All right, Maggie, thank you. April 23rd would be the Apple Blossom. I mean, Maracuja would have to run very impressive here to point to that.
Yeah, and listen, Maracuja is now making her first start as a 4-year-old. You would think there's going to be just natural progression. She was a very talented 3-year-old filly. Getting back to the ride in the the Coaching Club American Oaks, Ricardo Santana made 2 or 3 critical moves that made the difference in getting the victory. This is horse racing, not jockey racing, and what distinguishes or separates good riders from outstanding riders is when they make those little moves that make the difference. He used her speed, he engaged early, then he backed off when the Carriere took up the chase, and then he pounced at exactly the right moment, and then Ricardo Santana's patented strong finish in the stretch is something that we've come to look at, admire, expect. He made all the right moves, and obviously when you win by a short head, that's when a rider has a lot to do with the victory. There's a lot of races riders win. The horse is going to win with any competent ride. This was a ride that made the difference.
It was incredible from Ricardo Santana Jr. Everyone was raving about it afterwards. It was still, I mean, even at the end of the meet, people were still talking about that being such a sensational ride that stood out at Saratoga. That was Maracuja's big moment. Was not able to reproduce it in her next 2 starts in the Alabama or the Cotillion. We'll find out what she comes back like now as a 4-year-old.
Well, you know, one thing that I do have a question about, and I'm sure she had other works before she got on the work tab at Oaklawn, but she only has, 5 recorded works coming into this. And even though I like the spacing of the works, it seems like she's, had, consistent spacing. You always got to give a day or two for weather potentially, but she hasn't really missed a beat since she started back in the work tab. But that's not an extensive work tab coming back. I'm assuming she had other works that were unrecorded, maybe at a farm or a training center before that.
She is 4-5. Maggie wants a little more airtime there.
she photobombed.
They're going to come out for our post parade here in a moment. But look, at Maracuja, she's tackling. I know there's not Grade 1 winners she's going up against, but these are some older, experienced runners that have a few wins on the resume. Certainly in the circuit, they've been tough, like Lil King's Princess, who comes into this race in very good form. She's won back-to-back starts.
Yeah, and obviously showing an affinity for Oaklawn Park. She has speed, she has the rail, so I don't think there's any secret what the tactics should be. And when horses get in good form, they start to outperform themselves. I just wonder, Greg, she has speed. That's her way to go. the horse outside of her, WW Fitzy, has run her best races showing speed as well. And I think those are the two most likely upsetters, if there's going to be an upset of Maracuja. Do their styles, being similar, cancel each other out?
Yeah, it looks like they are going to throw down early. The 1, the 2, Little King's Princess, WW Fitzy, and that could be just perfect playing into the hands of Maracuja here in Santana.
And if you get down the backstretch and Ricardo Santana or Maracuja is laying third, a couple lengths off a contested pace, watching those two, that's the absolute perfect trip, isn't it?
Oh, you've got to be licking your chops with that happening. Jonathan, it was one of the great upsets we had all summer last Saratoga. Maracuja, now her 4-year-old return coming up.
Yeah, it was a magnificent race, and I remember thinking it wasn't going to be a kind of a boring race that day with Malafat and the others in there, but it ended up being outstanding in a very small field. I don't know. 4-5 on Maracuja, she's supposed to be 1-5 against this group, and the fact that she's only 4-5 coming in off of the layoff, it's a little bit of a concern to me. Like I said, she's supposed to be 1-5 in this group. And the fact that she's not, and the fact that she shows up here at kind of this kind of softer spot when there's so many other kind of mild spots that you could show up with a Grade 1 winner like this, to me, it just feels a little bit light. I think there's some other horses to her inside that could give her a run for her money, but she's so good and she's so talented that maybe she runs through that anyways, and maybe she is going to still be able to handle this field despite being ready for her best effort. So I just wanted to point out before the post parade that the price at 4-5, to me, that's pretty cold on a mare like this.
Yeah, it is. It's her first start back. I think that's part of the reason, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely, and she's never raced at Oaklawn. I think that's something I always maybe put a little too much emphasis on. There are certain racetracks it seems like some horses have an affinity for and some horses don't, but we don't know. Maybe she loves it in the mornings and she's training where she's showing her connections, Rob Atras, that she really likes it. She's a Grade 1 winner. They got her to beat, and it's just interesting because I really do not admittedly understand as much about the odds as, let's say, Jonathan or Andy, that 4-5 would be cold. And it does make sense when he says it.
There she is. So starting point for her, and this is, obviously you want to get something out of this race and not necessarily have to win it, but I'm sure that's what Connections would love to see against this group, but going to somewhat determine where the rest of her year goes from here.
Well, it's a starting point. And obviously you'd like to win it, but I think more importantly you want to build off it. You would prefer to win it and win it with something left and use it as a springboard, or actually finish second and use it as a springboard instead of winning it and being torn down from it. You don't want her to take a backward step from her first effort as a 4-year-old.
Well, if you were thinking, wow, I'm getting 4-5 right now on a filly, I thought it was going to be a lot shorter. We still got about 7 minutes. I don't know if you're going to get 4-5 by the time the gates open in this race. It seems like just bettors being a little bit cautious, waiting to see how she looks on the racetrack coming out. And as we get to our post parade here in a moment. But looking at the multis, pretty heavy favorite in the doubles. So we'll see. Maybe 3-5 in the end. We'll find out momentarily what number she goes off at. We still got a little bit of time here, 7 minutes away from a start. But what's that feel like, too, if you're Ricardo Santana Jr. and all the weight of the world's on you and a horse in this field that pretty much, with the resume, towers over this group?
Well, I think when you ride such a short price favorite and a Grade 1 winner, I think you ride a little bit defensively. Like, you don't want to get put in a compromising position. You want to give your horse an opportunity to run their race, to find their stride, and not have any excuses. But absolutely more pressure riding a short-priced horse than, a horse that maybe the people aren't paying as much attention to.
Yeah, the target's certainly on your back. We're going to start off, as you talked about pace-wise in this race. The 1, the 2 look like the two potentials that could spring the upset in here, but they both want to be in front on the engine. That's where they do their best running. So does that cancel them out? We'll see. Can either of these two produce a race where they can sit and stalk?
It just seems to me that most likely the one is that we're looking at, Little King's Princess, with the rail draw, should go to the lead. Her best races have been when she gets to go wire to wire. She hasn't passed horses. She wins one way, where WW Fitzy, the 2-horse, has won stalking, although I think her best races have also been on the lead. But at some point, she has to engage, and Maracuja, the 3 being drawn just outside of them, really puts her in the catbird seat. I mean, she's the favorite. She's a Grade 1 winner. She is coming off a layoff, but it seems like she's going to get the right setup.
Just went by. She's 4-5, making her 4-year-old debut. Here's Bow Bow Girl, Chris Richard, David Cabrera.
I just would have to find a race a little bit faster than we've seen from her in the past.
Jerry Hollendorfer is going to send out Miss Imperial. Last year, she reeled off 4 in a row.
Yeah, and a mare that has won 14 races. Never discount a horse that knows how to win.
And tuck your tail and run on the outside. 3 for 15 lifetime. Big price.
Big price, and rightfully so. I mean, she's going to look over in the gate and see, wow, I'm in here with a Grade 1 winner. They're like be putting me in there with Mike Tyson.
One of the great races we saw all last summer long at Saratoga, guys. Maracuja making her return.
Trying to reach back and find the stuff that made her a Grade 1 winner, Greg Maracuja. I don't know that it's a fair comparison, Gary, but we just saw Echo Zulu. She was off several months. She won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. She came back and shook off the rust, had to gut out that Fairgrounds Oaks victory, next stop for her, Kentucky Oaks. Maracuja, off all this time, a chance to shake off some rust. What does Rob Atras need to see, aside from victory, obviously, to confirm or for him to see enough to go ahead and run her in the Grade 1 Apple Blossom?
Well, I'm going to agree with what Richie said earlier on. A lot of times you see horses take a big step forward from their especially fillies, from their 2-year-old to 3-year-old year, and then again take another step to their 4-year-old year. She doesn't have to be 100% fit today with the Apple Blossom, maybe be in the goal. I know that she's got to run well, and he's probably expecting that this race under her belt is going to move her forward enough, hopefully, that she would be ready. But I'm also surprised at these odds right now. I thought that some of these horses, like filly Miss Imperial, she's 10-1 right now. I thought she'd be 20-1 in here by the time everything is said and done, and maybe she will be. But 4-5, it's short, but you look at the 1-horse, Little Kings and Princesses, WW Fritzy, they're getting bet on right now. So that could tell me that word is out that she's not 100% tight right now. He needs to run her to get her to the place that he wants to be.
You've often discussed how traffic and racing luck can play a factor, even in races with smaller fields. 6 runners here. Maracuja, the other jockeys, of course, they'll know who the filly to beat is. Where do you think Ricardo Santana should have her placed early on for her to be most effective?
I think he's going to send her away from the gate, let her run into the first turn, be aggressive under the wire the first time, let her find her stride, get comfortable, and make sure she finishes. And if she has traffic and can overcome it, that's going to be even a more positive move. But these short fields like this, 6 horses, when you've got a target on your back at even money now, it can be dicey out there. Ricardo's a heads-up rider, smart rider. He knows every single jock that's in this race. He knows what their habits are. He does his homework, and he knows this filly well. So I'm sure he's got a lot of confidence in her today. He knows what she's capable of, but he knows what the long-range plan is, and it's to move forward off of today's race.
Even money, Maggie. Pivotal race, Maracuja, and that Grade 1 Apple Blossom. Some of the fillies are mares she could tangle with. Maybe She Dares the Devil, Latruska, Clairiere.
Wow. I mean, that would be quite a lineup 3 weeks from now, Lafitte, and looking forward to it. And I hope that Maracuja gives a good showing of herself. Now, a few things I noticed with regards to her warm-up in that she was very bullish with the pony. She was acting kind of more like a colt in that she was pushing the pony around and just really kind of aggressive with him and biting him. I don't necessarily remember her doing that last year, and I think it's her being a bit fresh coming back here. But also, when she won the CCA Oaks, Ricardo took her away from the pony, and I was out on track that day, and just kept her moving constantly. He stayed with the pony, and he's barely gotten out of a trot with her today. I don't know if that's because he senses that she is a little bit on the fresher side, or what the game plan ultimately is going to be, whereas WW Fitzy, David Cohen, immediately took her away from the pony, gave her a big warm-up, and as Meg said, her better efforts have come when she can control. I don't know if she does that, because I do think that Little King's Princess is faster, but she was aggressively warmed up into here. And 2, she's a really robust and rotund, round type of mare that any kind of moisture in the track, I'm sure, is not going to agree with her. And last time it was listed as good. Obviously, I wasn't here, but sometimes those tracks can be just kind of tacky. And for a heavier horse, they don't get over it quite as well. Well, now she's back on this more glib, fast, tight track, and I think that suits her well. We'll see how this early pace develops. I think that's a big story here, Greg.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing to watch early in this race. Where the 1 and 2 line up, and can the one get loose? Does WW Fitzy put pressure on? Do they go at each other from the outset?
Yeah, I think the pace is the story of this race. And, you know, you think about it, if the one Little King's Princess wasn't in this race, you would really move up WW Fitzy. And likewise, if WW Fitzy, you'd really move up Little King's Princess. I just think they have very similar styles, which actually helps Maracuja. I agree with Maggie, though. I wasn't thrilled with watching Maracuja warm up on the television screen from here, how you're kind of on edge and pushing the pony around, turn herself sideways a little bit. Sometimes horses come back and they have to kind of get rid of a little bit of that nervous energy, that anxiety. I'd almost rather see him have a good gallop, expel some of that energy, then get them to try to settle down.
There's Rob Atras, trainer of Maracuja. That was the first Grade 1 win of his career in that coaching club of American Oaks last summer.
Always has his New York Yankee cap on. I think it must be his lucky cap, right?
Gotta be. I mean, yeah, and he had it on when she won the coaching club American Oaks.
Yeah, no, that's his signature. Looks like he's looked like he's trying to kind of be a little inconspicuous over there, but we
won't allow it.
We found him.
Sorry, Rob. I mean, that was a life-changing moment in his career.
Well, listen, he has shown that he knows how to train a racehorse and get horses ready, but most of his career up to that point had been lower level, some good hard-knocking allowance types, lower level stakes types, but nothing on that Grade 1 level. That certainly launched him more to national prominence.
And even he'd said, and his wife going into that race, he was somewhat just excited to be in a race like that, a Grade 1 at Saratoga,
sure,
against a Kentucky Oaks winner, a Todd Pletcher, Steve Asmussen, a guy who was about to become a Hall of Famer, an already Hall of Famer, and winds up winning it. He wasn't sure if she was up to that task, but then now, all of a sudden, now he's a Grade 1 winning trainer.
Well, it's interesting. I'm sure at one point in the race they were thrilled that she was going to be at least third because now it enhances her value as a brood mare. She's a Grade 1 placed mare. Well, not only is she a Grade 1 place, she's a Grade 1 winning mare, and that certainly was one of the moments of Saratoga last summer for sure.
But you start winning races like that, you can't hide from the cameras anymore.
No, you could see he was trying to definitely find a little spot and I'm sure there's nerves involved. You're bringing a horse, possibly, most likely, the best horse he's ever trained up to this point in his career, back off a layoff. You want things to go well, but at the same time, she is coming off a layoff.
There she is again. So there's the 3 Maracuja 4-year-old debut coming up, and just body language that you see right now. What can you tell us?
Well, she settled down a bit. But she really was being very bullish with the pony, really kind of putting her body weight into him, leaning on the pony, pushing her around. Looks like she's settled down a bit now as she's heading towards the starting gate. And again, I remember coming off layoffs myself. There's always a bit of nervous energy until you kind of get back into the flow of things.
First start for her since September 25th of last year in the Cotillion. She had beat Clairiere as well as Malathaat in that coaching club American Oaks, and then Clairiere got the better of her in that Cotillion. Can she make a move forward here in her 4-year-old campaign for Rob Atras and company, Beach Haven Thoroughbreds? As they load up, Maracuja back. She'll break from post 3. We're set for the 8th, the feature. Let's go to Vic Stauffer.
They're at the post. They're off. Miss Imperial and Lil King's Princess shows speed. Tuck your tail and run. WW Fitzy was a half stride slow, but now runs up into 4th from Bobo Girl, and the early trailer is Maracuja. It is Lil King's Princess at the clubhouse turn. She leads Miss Imperial by just over a length. WW Fitzy is now a pumped up 3rd, and she wants to go up and Challenge, third at the rail and 2 from the front. Then it's 2.5 back to Tuck Your Tail and Run and Bobo Girl. And Grade 1 Stakes winner Maracuja is 6th and last, and she is 9 lengths behind Lil King's Princess. Lil King's Princess up the backstretch, a length and a quarter in front of Miss Imperial in second. W.W. Fitzy is traveling in the pink at the rail, and now 2.5 from the front because Lil King's Princess is trying to win it right now, and she sprints past the half-mile pole with a 3-length lead. Miss Imperial is second. W.W. Fitzy is at the rail in third, but now 4 lengths behind. It is another 3.5 back to Bobo Girl and Tuck Your Tail and Run, and the trailer is still Maracuja, but she's beginning to unwind, but they'll have to go to catch Lil King's Princess. Lil King's Princess around the far turn, a 3-length lead. Now Maracuja is lengthening in her stride. She's up into third, about to move into second, and there's your race. Lil King's Princess and an on-rushing Maracuja. Lil King's Princess has the lead. 2.5 lengths now from Maracuja, who's coming on in second. Miss Imperial is still there. Then Bobo Girl, Lil King's Princess, Maracuja in the center of the racetrack. And here she comes to classily blow by. Maracuja, 2 in front to win. Maracuja won by about 2.5. Lil King's Princess was second, Miss Imperial third, and Bobo Girl finished fourth.
And there's winning trainer Rob Atras. Had to be some anxious moments for him in this race. She was last early on.
This is a big effort. She was a little bit awkward at the break, was probably further back than they anticipated early. Ricardo Santana was very patient, very confident. Boy, when she put it into gear, that long-striding daughter of Honor Code really, this was a really strong effort on the comeback.
And in the end, 4-5 on Maracuja. Let's look at the beginning here and what happened out of the gate.
Yeah, it looked to me like she broke in a little bit. Not that bad, but they kind of got tangled up, her and the 2, which gave the 1 an easy lead, Little King's Princess, and then she got shuffled back slightly. But Ricardo, cool, eased her back out of trouble, allowed her to get into that rhythm, and then came with a big run.
Well, how big an effort is this, too? Because with the 1 loose on the lead, to be able to run this horse down with the ease she did.
Yeah, because the 2-horse W.W. Fitzy and her kind of compromised each other at the break, slowed each other down a little bit. The outside horses folded over, and Lil King's Princess had everything her own way on the front end, and no excuses to a very classy Maracuja who just rolled down the center of the track with a big late run.
Third win of her career and a successful return to the races in her 4-year-old debut. Maracuja, the victory. Let's go to Maggie.
Here with winning trainer Rob Atras, and always reserved in his reaction. Rob, she did it in dramatic fashion today. A little bit pinched back at the break. What were your thoughts early on?
She was a little far back, but the pace was honest, I felt. And, I thought Ricardo gave her a great ride, and just really relieved that she came back in this fashion.
And she did it the right kind of way, too. She still seems as though sometimes she's a filly that's still figuring things out. Does this really move her forward and put you where you want her to be for the Apple Blossom?
I think this was the right spot to start her, and I think she'll move forward off this.
Are you thinking Apple Blossom? Obviously, you'll have to take a look at her tomorrow.
Yeah, we're hoping to make it. If we don't, we don't. We're not going to push her. It's still early in the year, so we have lots of options. But if everything goes well, then maybe we'll take a look at it.
Rob, how has she gone on from 3 to 4, physically and mentally?
To me, she I think she's got a little bigger, and she's developed physically. She's handled the training real well, much better than she did last year. So that's all it's good.
Well done, Rob. To you and your team, get your picture taken.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, Rob Atras, Maracuja, successful return to the races. Looks as though it might be another exciting season for her. Greg?
Maggie, thanks. We love to see our stars come back and run the types of races we're used to seeing from them. If she does go to the Apple Blossom, the premier event in the Distaff division at Oaklawn, that's just 22 days away from now.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround, but, like Rob Atras just said, they'll take a look at her. They'll make sure it's the right fit, that she gives her the right signs. They do have options. There's plenty of races this time of year that really start the campaign. And it is a long campaign, usually culminating with the Breeders' Cup. So, they usually kind of start at the Breeders' Cup and map their way backwards how the best route would be to get there.
Yeah, that becomes the question now. Off this effort, Do you want to go to that kind of company? We'll see. CC, She Dares the Devil, you would think, both pointing to that spot on April 23rd. Is Maracuja going to throw her name in the hat as well for the Grade 1 Apple Blossom? Impressive effort in her 4-year-old debut. Maracuja with the win in the feature from Oaklawn. We'll be back.
Undefeated Grade 1 winner Mastery was a multiple graded stakes winner at 2, including this victory in the Los Alamitos Cash Call Futurity. Now his progeny are bringing top dollar in the sales ring, and his first runners are hitting the track. Mastery, standing at Claiborne Farm.
You're watching America's Day at the Races on FS2. Program is brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Maracuja, successful return to the races in her 4-year-old debut. Let's go to Maggie.
Great way to start the year for us.
Here with Ricardo Santana. Excuse me. Congratulations, by the way. Ricardo, not necessarily the way things you may have wanted at the start, and we were talking about it. She was acting really bullish with the pony, and she gave you a little bit of a run for your money in the gate too.
Well, she was training. She was really fresh, you know, when it time out, and I was really happy how she was acting. I was kind of a little worried when we go inside the gate because she started being a little shy, but you know, like she broke how I wanted. That was it. That was it. The thing I want to for her. You know, like I don't wanna. She come from layoff. I don't wanna rush her and she don't got nothing in the end. She broke a little cold. I just let her put her feet in the ground, and in a half a mile when I asked him to go, she improved a lot today.
I was going to say, how much, you know, from riding her last year as a 3-year-old, how much does she improve? Because she almost seemed push button this time around. Maybe it was the field she was facing, but she did it the right kind of way.
Well, she grew up more. She's more tall. She put a lot of weight. You can tell today. And today when I pressed the button, she gave me a second breathe and she took off, you know, and tried for home. I don't even hit him yet, and she's picking up really well. And when I hit her, she opened up like nothing.
How excited are you to get her back as a 4-year-old?
Well, I'm really happy. I think this is, pray to God that she keeping sound. I think she's gonna have a lot of fun. In the future, she's a loyal filly, and I trust in the guys. They do a really good job when that filly, and I'm really happy and excited to see her back in the Apple Blossom.
So are we. Congratulations, Ricky.
Thank you so much.
Ricardo Santana, regular rider aboard and reunited with his Grade 1 winning filly. Greg.
Maggie, thanks. So Ricardo's vote, Apple Blossom. We'll see if it comes to be April 23rd.
I'm sure a lot will depend on how she comes out of the race, how tired she is. You know, horses, how quick she jumps back in the feed tub and eats up. But I tell you what, she threw her hat in the ring. I thought this was a very impressive comeback to overcome what I deem as some trouble at the break, a little further back. But when he asked her the question, she had an immediate response, and a long striding daughter of Honor Code. She came back good.
Chasing down a lone speed as well.
Yep.
And this division, this distaff division, the last several years, it's been one of the most fun divisions to watch in this sport, and it's just nice to have her back at the top of her game. Hopefully she can stay there. But we've lost a few stars in this division, but there's still some good names out there.
It just feels like we keep picking up these fillies and mares that, keep creating that depth. They just keep this division as deep as it is. It's been a lot of fun to watch. And, of course, the champion from last year, her name's escaping me. She was beaten in the Breeders' Cup, but won all the other races. Won in Florida.
Latruska.
Couldn't come up with
She's still
a name.
around, yeah.
She's still around. So, no, again, it's still a very, very deep division.
We still have one more coming up from Oaklawn. Of course, tomorrow we have this cross-country Pick 5 that begins with the carousel from Oaklawn, ends with the Arkansas Derby from Oaklawn. Let's go to Jonathan.
Yeah, guys, I thought this was a tough sequence. The carousel to get started, I thought was extremely tough. I'm actually going to hit the all button. And I don't typically hit the all button in races where, I don't really know. I'm hoping for a price. This is a situation where I just feel like all the horses kind of feel the same. That's why I went with the all button. On to the second leg, I'm just going to use the 2 and the 3. Untreated and First Constitution, both Todd Pletcher runners. I think one of them should be able to get the job done. I don't quite trust First Constitution, who's won even money on the morning line. In the third leg, another tough race. I'm going to spread in there as well. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10. Back to Oaklawn Park. I'm going to single the 5, Ida, in the fantasy. This horse just feels faster than the rest of them. You get Johnny Velasquez. You got some speed. She'll be forwardly placed. And then to wrap it up, in the Arkansas Derby, I'm just going to use 2 horses, the 4 Doppelganger and the 9 We the People. I like it. I have 2 tattoos on my arm of Rachel Alexandra and Zenyatta. I like when the fillies face the boys, but they're just always over bet from a sentimental point of view. And Secret Oath doesn't seem like the superstar. They're going to bet her like tomorrow. Now, she could prove me wrong, but as of right now, I'm just going to go with the 4 and the 9 to wrap up the Arkansas Derby.
Jonathan knew I was going to ask him about that. No filly on his ticket. We'll see. Thoroughgraphs, she seems like a standout in the race. Mile and 1/8, obviously a question.
I got to ask Jonathan, though, is he going to have room for a Secret Oath tattoo when she turns out to be a superstar?
I have another arm that has, we could maybe work something out, but she's got to win a lot of races, and she's got to do that thing that Zenyatta and Rachel did to me, which is make me almost kind of get that lump in my throat and a tear coming out of my eye. So she's got a long way to go, but if she can somehow figure that out, yeah, we'll make some space for
her. I love it.
Go Tyson, too. You got some room in the forehead.
Oh, yeah. No. I like his look the way it is. That's fine. But I like Secret Oath a lot.
So much fun. It's going to be great to watch her in action. If she can produce what she has against her own sex, against this group. And look, the group that's been in the Midwest on the road to the Derby has not been the strongest group.
No, I think it's the right spot to try the boys. And she, to me, has shown the ability to stop and start. She's been cat-like for a big, long-striding filly. She's also very athletic, and I really like what I'm seeing. She's overcome trouble in some of her starts and then shown also the ability to make a long, sustained run when they've committed to going forward. Louis Contreras, her rider. So I think there's a lot to like there.
Our live coverage, again, begins on FS1 tomorrow of the Arkansas Derby at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Meanwhile, the New York Racing Association lost a dear member of their family this past week. Eddie Brown, assistant clerk of scales, had been with the New York Racing Association for over 60 years, passed away last week at the age of 85.
Just an incredible guy, a dear friend of mine, a racetracker's racetracker. Loved the game, knew every facet of it, every asset of it. Had great conversations with Eddie. He came on the racetrack as a kid the summer that native dancer was a 2-year-old, and he talked about seeing him run in Saratoga and through his championship seasons. Was a boxer when he was a young man, Golden Gloves, worked the parking lot, was one of his first jobs other than galloping horses. He was part of the valet parking team. He worked for Lefty Nickerson. This is an incredible gentleman and a great loss to the game. He was dearly loved by so many.
Eddie Brown, assistant clerk of scales, who, as Mig mentioned, did just about everything here at the New York Racing Association, has passed away at the age of 85. We'll be back.
The return of Sunday Silence.
Sunday Silence surges to the front.
It's Yoshida in front. Yoshida takes charge at the top of the stretch, and Yoshida wins the Turf Classic.
Here comes Yoshida, storming home in the center with Gunnevera. Yoshida! Yoshida has won the Woodward.
The perfect balance. Yoshida.
The Thoroughbred Owner Conference is back in person for the first time in 3 years and is being held in the new 1863 Club at Saratoga Racecourse, July 25th and 26th. Attendees enjoy 9 ownership topics with an impressive list of speakers, along with social events to meet other owners and network, an opening reception at the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame, a conference dinner, and an afternoon of racing at Saratoga. It's the 2022 Thoroughbred Owner Conference, July 25th and 26th. See you in Saratoga.
Code of Honor, multiple Grade 1 winner and 6-time graded stakes winner, including the Grade 1 Travers, the Grade 1 Jockey Club Gold Cup, the Grade 2 Fountain of Youth. He was a debut winner at 2 in Saratoga, following up with a gutsy performance, running second in the Grade 1 Champagne Stakes. Son of a champion out of a graded stakes winner, with an outstanding physical to match. Code of Honor, standing at Lane's End.
How does horse racing support New York's economy? It's responsible for 19,000 jobs and more than $3 billion in annual statewide economic impact. These good-paying jobs support working families across the state and sustain thousands of small businesses both on and off the track. Horse racing in New York means jobs and opportunities now and in the future. We are New York Horse Racing.
We're back on America's Day at the Races on FS2. Thanks for being with us on this Friday afternoon. Program brought to you where you can play it all. Go to Naira Bets, download the app, or go to nairabets.com. 63 wins, 6 stakes victories, and 3 4-win days on the program at the Aqueduct Winter Meet for Dylan Davis. The first riding title of his career. He is riding high right now. Mig had a chance to sit down with Dylan.
You have been riding in such great form, and I think it really started when you came back from being injured early in 2021. Was there any moment during that injury that it kind of clicked that you knew how you wanted to approach it coming back?
Of course, yeah. Just sitting back for about 2 months, watching all my horses running, got me really frustrated. Before my injury, I felt like maybe I was in a rut, and I had time to think about it when I was sitting on the sidelines, and at that point, I said, I can do this better. I can do it harder, smarter. I just wanted to show that I wasn't scared to come back.
And Vintage Hollywood will win the Kingston under Dylan Davis.
It's incredible to me how much you look like your father on a horse. He was always a good finisher, strong finisher on horses. Is that something that happened by DNA, or have you studied his tapes?
I think it's more of DNA. You only have so many tapes to go by. And now that I'm being able to get my own style, I guess it leans towards my father more, but I'm just doing what I feel is comfortable for my body, and I guess it leans towards Dad.
Did you know early on you wanted to be a jockey?
No, I didn't. I enjoyed going to the track, but I never really paid attention to the actual racing aspect. I was just enjoying being a kid. There was a point in my life when I was about 16 or 17 where I was into motocross and dirt biking, and I wanted to actually be professional in that, and I knew it was going to be difficult, but if I put the work into it, I thought I'd be okay. And my father refused that. He said it was too dangerous, there's too many jumps, and you could hurt yourself. And it's funny because I'm in another dangerous sport.
The rider, Dylan Davis, his 4th win today.
What is it like competing with a sibling out on the racetrack? I can't even imagine. I know you have to kind of block that out. Is it anything that ever enters your mind about it?
It doesn't matter if it's my brother-in-law Trevor or Jackie or Katie maybe will make a comeback again. But if they got horse and I got horse, they better get to riding, because I'm going to give it everything I got, because they, just like any other rider, it's just I want to win as much as any of the other ones do, but I just want to beat them, and especially like Jackie or Katie. If I finish second, I want her finish in third. You know, I know if I can't win it, I want them winning it.
Now, last fall, you rode your first Grade 1 winner, Mutamakina, up in Canada in the EP Taylor. You had ridden her in a prep for the race. I think you learned that it's a very long stretch at Woodbine, and maybe you went for home maybe a little early, and I think it really made the difference in winning the Grade 1. You won with both races, but I think a different trip the second time.
Going into the EP Taylor, Christoph reminded me again, listen, I know it's a Grade 1 and you might be excited, but just try to wait on her as much as you can. And I'm looking at the wire and I see it coming, but it's still ways away. And I feel Joelle coming up on my outside, and I just kept her forward, throwing the crosses, and I was so excited that I got there first for a great trainer and to put that away onto my resume.
That was a big moment for Dylan. Group 1 win, and now follows it up and just continues that momentum going forward with his first ever riding title, where you have to produce over the length of an entire meet. He's come a long way.
Oh, he's come a long way, and what has impressed me has been his consistency. At times, I think Dylan maybe wasn't as consistent as he's become, but he's also, that comes with maturity, and I love his approach. I love his preparation, and it's been a process. It took a lot of hard work. My brother Michael took his book. I kind of helped lay out a plan, how I thought they should approach it, how they would have to weather the tough times. And now they've gotten to a point where they're leading riders, so it's going to help carry over into Belmont. Listen, it's never easy, and it's always, what have you done for me right now? But the way Dylan Davis has been riding, he should have no problem going forward. And winning that first Grade 1 is huge, because it shows that you can win at that level. And when a trainer like Christophe Clement shows that kind of confidence in you, it breeds confidence in other connections.
We go back to Oaklawn. Congratulations, Dylan Davis. Good job in the interview, too.
Thank you. It was fun to sit down and talk with Dylan. You know, Greg, I'm an old guy now. I watch these kids grow up, so it's amazing watching their success now.
It's got to be surreal for you. 4-5 favorite in this 9th here at Oaklawn is Airborne Gal. Chris Hartman claimed. This one's been claimed each of the last 2 starts, 3 times overall in 5 starts.
I always find that a sign of confidence when horses are claimed consistently, because obviously horsemen, people are watching and they like something they see.
Ran a big effort off the bench last time out. 82 Beyer, best number that she has ever run. We're talking about the 6 right now. And, you know, it was her first start in 2.5 months.
Yeah, 2.5 months.
Move forwards off that, going to be tough to beat. Here's Rockstar parking the 1.
Gets Francisco Arrieta, who's just been lighting it up there. Another one of those top riders.
Could get speed from Nick and Zoe. John Court rides.
Well, 2 starts back. John Court in the tack, went essentially gate to wire. The ageless wonder, John Court.
Nisi Prius cutting back in distance, but still she's very quick.
She's quick, and she should have a lot of foundation coming out of that mile and a 16th race on the turnback.
Knight's Honor, big price with Ramon Vasquez.
Big price. I don't see this horse as a win candidate, but could have something to say about how this race is run, because another one that possesses some speed.
Another one that's going to shorten up here, Miss Yum Yum.
Yeah, another one turning back in distance. Will that translate as well? She's going to have to prove it to me.
Favorite at even money we'll see next. There she is. She was well clear of that 3rd place finisher.
Well, clear of the 3rd place finisher. Chris Hartman winning it better than 26% at the meeting.
15-1 on a filly coming off a $40,000 maiden claiming win in her 3-year-old debut.
Yeah, a big price that day, and that was a big improvement, big step up for her.
And Asmas and Rosario outside at 4-1, Chakra.
Another one turning back in distance off the Asmussen claim. Another one that's been popular at the claim box. Get Joel Rosario. Very, very much a contender.
4-5 favorite. Moving to the Chris Hartman barn off the claim. Let's go to Lafitte and Gary.
Perfect segue, Greg, with Airborne Gal. First after the claim, Chris Hartman. Hartman has a runner in tomorrow's Arkansas Derby. Former claimer in the form of Kavad. Gary, Kavad draws the rail again, just like he did in the Rebel. Anticipated pace setter again. How much of a threat do you think he is to steal this Arkansas Derby?
Any time that you get a horse that's going to be at price, he's 15-1 on the morning line. I think he's going to be more like 30-1 tomorrow. If you can get loose on the lead, steal away at the 3/8 pull, sometimes you have a chance. More so in a longer race than the race of this type. There's a lot of classy horses in here that are very, very tactical. You've got Secret Oath that she's not going to be far away. She's going to use him as the pacemaker, as her target. So will We the People drawn on the outside. He's shown speed. He's been restrained hard previously by Florent Giroux. It'll be interesting to see how Flavien Prat handles things with him tomorrow. But this horse is going to get swarmed at the 3/8 pull. I don't think he's going to have a chance to steal away and open up any sort of big lead coming into the stretch where he's going to scare people, just for the fact that Secret Oath, his rider, Luis Contreras, is going to be watching Flavien Prat and vice versa. And those two are going to take it up early on. I don't think they're going to go full wide open, but when these horses pick up, they've got a very, very good turn of foot, a good kick. So I think they'll probably put him away pretty early as they enter the stretch.
Very quickly, the rider switch. We've seen all these races won. Chris Hartman, Francisco Arrieta here at Oaklawn. Turning to Mitchell Merle. He takes over tomorrow for the Arkansas Derby.
Yeah, and Mitch is another kid that I've seen move along. I first rode with him my last year of riding in 2018 at Churchill Downs. He had an aura about him. We shared a corner together. We had the same valet. Very likable kid, but he's really matured over the last couple of years. Just had an outstanding meet at Fairgrounds in New Orleans.
Really looking forward to this one. It's a little different on the calendar. 5 weeks out from the Kentucky Derby, the Arkansas Derby, live coverage on Fox Sports 1. Maggie, meantime, getting closer to post time for the 9th. Final thoughts for the Nightcap on the eve on the Arkansas Derby. And for you, don't stay out too late. No firing away at the casino all night. It's a school night, Maggie.
Oh, Lafitte, you're preaching to the choir, my friend. No, we must all be in bed early. We have a very long day tomorrow. I'll be making sure everybody gets their rest and eats their Wheaties in the morning. But taking a look at some of the major players here in this last race to cap things off. Airborne Gal, she has been popular in the claim box. Last time out, wired by parking in the rear. And Chris Hartman, as far as his Oaklawn claims go in sprints, he is 11 for 39, 28%. And I thought it was a good effort last time for previous connections. Kept coming, kept trying to reel in that loose on the lead leader, but just couldn't do so. Watch it. She's a very healthy, filly, which I appreciate. I like my fillies to carry some weight. But she just could look better in her coat and out on the track. I don't know. She didn't, wow me to be even money. I thought there were some other interesting propositions here, including the outside runner Chakra for Steve Asmussen first off the claim. Now, he hasn't had the best numbers first off the claim here at Oaklawn. He's only 15 for 129, so that's 12%. And this really does turn back. I like the turn back because she is a headstrong somebody. I mean, they had to saddle her on the walk. She was very obstreperous. They did a great job at containing her, but needless to say, the turn back makes a lot of sense physically and mentally. But in the same breath, she did run very well last time. I thought Martine Garcia gave her a great ride to try to contain her as she wanted to flip her head going into that first turn. So I think it's the right move turning this one back, and she looks great overall. As another horse that's interesting turning back in distance is number 3, Nisi Prius for Ernie Witt. Tried hard, kind of same situation as Chakra last time, but beaten by the horse who did sit right off of her. So the turn back makes sense despite actually running her fastest race going the 2 turns. But another one just built more like a sprinting type, though she was actually very, very quiet in the paddock. She's a decent price, but we'll see what kind of tactics they use with her. Will she have as much early speed? I would say not quite as much as some of the other rivals, right? Jonathan. Jonathan's still with us, right? How could I forget the most well-dressed person on the show, JK?
And we're still not even for all the times I was supposed to throw it to you and I forget. So it's me 97 and you 1. So welcome to the club. Look, I'm kind of glad Maggie kind of had some I don't want to say negative thoughts, but not so you shouldn't be even money thoughts on the 6 Airborne Gal. I felt like the 2, Nick and Zoe, it's a horse at 2 races back, made sense. This horse can find that race. This horse is absolutely in the mix here. The 3, Nisi Prius is another horse that I thought this horse was actually probably going to be favored, and to not end up favored I thought was a little bit shocking. But another horse that I think is live in here, and I always pay attention when a Hall of Famer like Steve Asmussen claims a horse. He can win these big races, win Breeders' Cup races, but he still participates in these $20,000 claiming races, claiming and improving horses. And I think that one of his most underrated traits is that he can move a horse up off the claim, and I like the outside draw for Chakra. So I'm going to officially go with the 3, but I do believe the 2, 3, and 8 are extremely live if you're trying to beat the 6.
All right, so it sounds like not a lot of love from our analysts here for Airborne Gal at that short price.
Yeah, and again, Maggie quoted some great stats on Chris Hartman, who's having a tremendous Oaklawn Park meeting. I kind of like Chakra. I like the outside draw with her. I like Joel Rosario. I like first-time Steve Asmussen. I like the turn back in distance as your second choice, 3-1. I prefer that over the even money of the 6 Airborne Gal.
And she even, to me, it looks like Chakra. I know she's coming out of a longer race, and that could dull your speed going 2 turns. You look at that start 2 back, she might have the ability to be the quickest in this race if she wants to.
And one thing about horses turning back in distance, I found in the past, and Michael Hushin was a trainer that I wrote a great deal for, was a master at it. Stretching a horse out, not taking their speed away from them, letting them use their speed going long, and then turning them back in distance. It just gave them more air. It gave them more foundation. They were able to carry their speed further because they had that experience going a route of ground.
Yeah, she had, for several races, been very, very quick. 21 and change opening quarters and not finishing. She hung around a lot longer going 2 turns. So maybe this will be the key.
Well, and the fact, too, that now from the outside post, with a rider like Joel Rosario's horses kind of run into his hands, she might find herself in a stalking spot because she learned to settle a little better because of that route race. And again, with that foundation, I think there's a lot to like at 7-2 with her.
Including that outside draw. 4-5 now on Airborne Gal. There she is, the 6 stepping in with John Geraldo. We are set for the nightcap from Oaklawn on this Friday card here on America's Day at the Races. Let's go to Vic Stauffer.
Slushy. 2 more now. Knight's Honor and Chakra. They're off. Awkward start for Chakra. She's last. Nick and Zoe and Nisi Prius break best, then Rockstar Parking and Airborne Gal. Knight's Honor is next, then Slushy and a very cantankerous Chakra, and the trailer is Miss Yum Yum. Nick and Zoe, Nisi Prius, a 4-wide Chakra, and Airborne Gal just inside of her, and these 4 are going to line up going into the far turn. Then it's 2.5 to a lineup of 3. Rockstar Parking, Knight's Honor, and Slushy. Then 3 lengths back to the trailer, Miss Yum Yum, Nick and Zoe still in front. Nick and Zoe from Nisi Prius in second. Airborne Gal is traveling nicely, and here's Airborne Gal up in 2 seconds and a neck off the lead. Rockstar Parking is at the rail. Chakra is now tailed off. She's 5th and about 3 off the lead. Knight's Honor is next, top of the stretch. Here comes Airborne Gal outside of Nick and Zoe. Nick and Zoe still a neck in front of Airborne Gal in second. Rockstar Parking is at the rail. She's got a good chance. So does Nisi Prius. And Airborne Gal has flattened out. So it's down to Rockstar Parking and Nick and Zoe. And Rockstar Parking is a neck in front. Nick and Zoe is second. And now Rockstar Parking is 2.5 in front. Rockstar Parking. Rockstar Parking won by 2.5. Nick and Zoe was second. Nisi Prius third. Airborne Gal finished 4th.
Rockstar Parking, Francisco Arrieta, and Chakra, the break out of the gate. It was all over from there.
It really was. Very awkward break. Joel Rosario wound up falling back on her mouth. Then she got keen, kind of ran off a bit down the backstretch. But give a lot of credit to the winner. Won Rockstar Parking, battled it out, kept fighting on the rail. Nick and Zoe with the ageless John Court. No excuses for your favorite Airborne Gal. She had every opportunity and just flattened out to the stretch.
9-1 on this daughter of Upstart third win for 12 career starts, 1-2-3 finish in this finale from Oaklawn. Quick break. We'll be back right after this on America's Day at the Races.
Oaklawn Park Saturday. Top-ranked 3-year-olds face off in the $1,250,000 Grade 1 Arkansas Derby, the final leg of the Kentucky Derby Prep Series at Oaklawn Park. Watch and play the Arkansas Derby Saturday live on FS1.
We're back on America's Day at the Races on FS2. Thanks for sticking around with us. The Nightcap at Oaklawn goes to Rockstar Parking at 9-1, returns $20.
Francisco Arietta, $20 even. Nick and Zoe and Zizi has 1, 2, 3, Greg.
Indeed. Pick 5. $1,271. Tomorrow, it's going to be so much fun. We hope you join us. We're on earlier on FS2. That begins at 1:30 Eastern time. Our FS1 coverage begins at 4 Eastern. That includes the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby final prep in the Midwest to get into that starting gate in the Kentucky Derby and the Philly. Secret Oath. Tackling the boys for Dwayne Lucas, who won this race back in 1984 with a Philly.
With Althea, won a Kentucky Derby with a Philly winning colors with our own Gary Stevens aboard. So a man who knows the kind of fillies it takes to compete against the boys. And I'm really excited about Secret Oath. I think she's special.
It seems like he may have that kind of filly again.
Absolutely. Cat-like, can stop, start, maneuver. She's a ballet dancer.
Very athletic. She will be the favorite in tomorrow's Arkansas Derby against the boys. We will have it live for you on the program tomorrow. Again, our FS1 coverage begins 4 Eastern time. Secret Oath, big moment ahead in that Arkansas Derby on the road to, potentially for her, the Kentucky Derby against the boys. Among her foes, she'll line up against We the People for Rudolph Brissett. We'll see you tomorrow beginning on FS2 at 1:30 Eastern time.
Start spreading the news. If you're looking to win in New York, then breed in New York. To War Dancer, the millionaire son of Warfront, and New York's #1 sire of 3-year-olds. Breed to a proven performer, the #1 second crop sire at the Saratoga meet with multiple winners at Belmont and Aqueduct. Earn double the New York Breeders' Awards and participate in the New York Stallion Series with $2 million in purses. War Dancer, proud to stand in New York. Visit